Hey everybody, welcome to the Player's Take, episode 33. I am your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, the other man in the closet, Montrell Rice.
What?
I'm referencing, the people at work. They make fun of us because we're two dudes in a closet. Jet says he's going to make a song for us, and I told him if he makes the song, I will put it on the show.
Yeah, because our recording space is a closet.
Yes, we record in a closet, so they make fun of us for recording in a closet. But I look, I want him to make it. I want him to make the song. I'll put it on there. I don't care how bad the quality is. I'll put it on here as a blooper at the end of the show. If it's good enough, it might go at the beginning of the show, but that's up to them. So, for those of you who haven't listened before, The Player's Take is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and your favorite podcast app of choice. Montrell, let's start like we always do with what we've been playing. What have you been playing the past week, my friend?
Man, World of Warcraft. And
Fire Emblem Three House.
Fire Emblem Three Houses and World of Warcraft.
He wrote in the doc Fire Emblem Three House.
Three House. Oh yeah. I forgot the S.
It's okay.
But yeah, finally beat Three Houses.
Okay. And Golden Deer?
Yeah, the Golden Deer. I recommend to you don't finish that.
Why?
Do that one last. I do the Blue Lions.
Why? I'm in the middle of the playthrough right now.
I know, but I recommend doing that one last.
I don't give a shit. I'm finishing it, okay?
All right,
I felt the same way about Black Eagles. It's done. I'm already done. It's
okay.
done. It's over.
Maybe all their endings are meant to be like that. Because that one had the ending, like, it was like a climactic ending.
Yeah.
And it felt like it finished off the entire... I feel like you're supposed to do that house last.
Okay. Interesting.
Because I was going to do the Blood Eagles next, but I'm going to do the Blue Lions now. Like...
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm doing Golden Deer, and then I'm going to do Blue Lions, and then I'm going back to Black Eagles to do the second route for them. Okay. So that's my plan. Well, speaking of Fire Emblem Three Houses, I've also been playing it. Just playing through more Golden Deer. I think I'm on chapter 7 or 8 now.
All right.
I'm getting
still turn back now.
I'm getting through the school year, man.
You can still turn back.
No, I can't. Dude, no way. Plus, my party is looking...
pretty good.
They're looking swole, dude.
All right.
Like, it's... man, Leone and Petra and Felix are just going to be an annihilation squad at the end of the game. Well, speaking of Three Houses, I'm just going to jump into a news story real quick here.
Okay.
There was a patch that came out yesterday, I think, for it. Fixed an issue... a game-breaking bug. The game was not launching for people who had bought the season pass.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it wouldn't even launch if you had bought the season pass. That has been fixed as of recording, so by the time you hear this, it's already fixed. But it also was a free patch that added a new difficulty mode that I had talked about previously, maddening difficulty. I don't know why they named it this, because it's always been Lunatic. And in Fire Emblem Heroes, they added a new difficulty above Lunatic called Infernal.
Okay.
And yet they go with maddening here.
Maybe some legal reasons.
I don't know. I don't know. But this is basically going to be your Lunatic difficulty, which I'm happy about. This might actually keep me playing this game now. Once I finish Golden Deer, I'm probably going to play my next playthrough on this difficulty level.
Okay.
So yeah, check that out if you want to pull your hair out.
Is it that hard?
Dude, Lunatic, man.
Do they use tactics like what do they do? Are they just better units, or do they actually use tactics?
So, Lunatic generally, in the past, has been set up where obviously the enemies are they're stronger. They have higher stats in general. But they change all the maps. Where they might change some enemy placements. They might add reinforcements that weren't there before. Enemies act differently. They'll charge you when they wouldn't charge you before. They'll do all sorts of different things. And given their higher stats, it makes it a lot harder. And some of the maps they design in such a way that you need very, very specific strategies to be able to survive. So I don't know if this game's going to be that way because of the open nature of the way you develop your characters. I think you'll probably be able to power your way through a lot of things that you normally would not. In the past, though, Lunatic has been a difficulty that you've not been able to power through. Like, it's so hard that they stack the deck against you in such a way that you can't just power through it. You would have to grind, like, to a ridiculous degree in Awakening and Fates in order to, like, out-level it, you know?
Okay.
So, it's definitely challenging. I'm sure it's very challenging here. So I'm kind of excited to try it because this game is weird, the way the difficulty ramps.
Yeah.
It definitely has a weird curve for me, that the game kind of starts out a little bit harder and then kind of gets easy very quickly.
Yeah.
And then it's easy for quite a while. And then all of a sudden it gets harder in part 2, and then by the end of part 2 it starts getting real tough.
Yeah,
like they're putting shit like hazards, like terrain hazards, and huge squadrons of enemy units all together at once, and they're forcing you to split your party up, and even some of the missions, like it's just more difficult. So I imagine on Lunatic it's really going to push you, because on Black Eagles I was really pushed to my limit in the final map. Like, my party was split and I had one healer with each group, and it wasn't really enough to keep everyone alive. It was tough. It was tougher.
I was playing on normal in my last mission.
Yeah,
I lost 2 people and I just said fuck it.
Man, what a scrub, dude.
I lost 2 people, but I mean, they weren't really.
Man, you didn't Divine Pulse or whatever?
I used it already.
Oh, you had used it all?
Yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay. Well,
the boss that you're fighting, like,
I got close to using it all.
Yeah, I used them all, and the boss you're fighting, he actually moves out his space.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so on the Black Eagles path, that is not the case. The final boss was stationary. Very difficult, just nonetheless. But, so, dude, I love the higher difficulties in Fire Emblem games. They're very interesting because they really push characters to their limits, and you really see who's good and who's bad.
Yeah.
You know, there's certain characters, like, I don't think Dorothea is going to hold up in Lunatic, or Maddening, rather. I don't think Linhardt will. I don't think Ignatz really will. I don't think Ash will. Like, there's a few characters that I've used in both playthroughs that really are just meh. Like, they just don't have the growths. Like, their growths just aren't good enough, you know?
Okay, yeah.
They're only gaining, like, 3 stats a level. It's just not enough, dude. Like,
yeah.
You know, so those characters that have low speed stats too, I just don't think are going to be able to manage, like Raphael's and normal, and, you know, go up a tier, and then maybe try Maddening on your 3rd playthrough.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do that with the Blood Eagles.
Because I'm gonna be honest, New Game Plus makes the game a lot easier, and I think New Game Plus will make Maddening manageable for players who aren't trying to destroy their brains. You know?
Yeah.
Like, so that's why I'm kind of excited about it, because I think it's going to be challenging but fun, you know?
Yeah.
At the same time. So we've also both been playing WoW Classic some more. We both hit the early 30s.
Yep.
With our characters. I'm 33 or 31 or 32?
31.
Okay, you didn't get 32 yesterday.
Nah.
We just started running Scarlet Monastery, which has been a fun time.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
Montrell's been bringing arrows, you know.
Yes.
It's been a good
and
little
I've been
hunter.
controlling my pet, man.
A little bit,
Yeah.
You got a little flippant there at some points last night, but it's okay.
I'm sleepy when I sleep.
You're not like Andy. You're not running in before the tank does and drawing aggro. Just like Andy, I need to get hit to be able to tank, and Andy's like, man, if I get hit, I get more rage. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna let you die next time.
Yeah, that was funny. It
was pretty funny. Yeah, so I'm sure we're gonna run some more tonight if you get on. But,
yeah, I'm going to get on.
Any other thoughts on this though, as you've played deeper? Like, we're getting into the meat of this now.
WoW Classic?
Yeah.
I can definitely see why people like it compared to other MMOs. It is, like I said last week, it's super deep, and it kept me hooked. Now, maybe because I'm playing with friends, but I do notice I'll be online by myself, and I'm playing by myself, and I get done. I get through the missions, I get invested in it. Whereas with like Final Fantasy 14, I played that with friends, and I tried to play solo, and it was kind of hard for me to get into it.
Yeah.
I will say some of the missions are. Well, I guess that's what any MMO. They're like repetitive, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just an MMO.
We got to remember the time period too. This was the MMO that started the trend. With MMOs becoming repetitive. This was the one that really started that, and I think the thing with this game that it's just so well designed from a progression standpoint, right? Is that your progression is really not that interesting from a complication standpoint. It's really not that complicated. Like, you level up, your stats go up, you get a talent point. You know, from 10 to 60, you get talent points every level up, and then you buy some abilities. You know, it's like you're not really doing anything that intricate, but then the game just like over time really just starts layering things on top of you. Over your leveling experience, and redoing this now has really like reinforced that in my head that it's like it's so interesting that the way they built the leveling experience in vanilla, it's so meticulously built, because you start early on and you don't need to worry about anything, right? You can just walk up to things and kill them in a couple hits, and you know, you don't need to worry about anything. And then you hit the 10s, you're in the teens, and you know, you might start needing to you need to worry about green items rather than wearing whites. You need items that have stats on them and stuff like that, and you're really starting to like look at your gear and everything. You're still able to buy all your abilities without issue, blah blah blah. Then you start hitting the 20s, and at that point the game's like, you actually have to start thinking about pulls and stuff, and you can't just kill everything without like thinking about it. And you really need to start thinking about gear at this point. Like, you can't just have garbage on and be effective, right? Like, you actually have to have decent gear. And now we're in the 30s, and at this point the game really starts to come into the end game, where you're having to really learn your character at this point. Like, these pulls aren't like, I'm experienced, Jet's experienced, a few of our players that we've been playing with are experienced, so these runs are still really easy and kind of boring for the most part, and we can kind of pull more than you normally would with a pug. But as a new player, I feel like it's just like, this is the point where the game starts to get a little more difficult, right? These instances get more difficult. Yeah,
I definitely, like I said, I only started with Burning Crusade, but as I'm playing this game now, it is very difficult. I have to pick my places where to farm at. So I notice I'm farming, like, I may farm for 2 levels here. I still have a lot of missions in that area. They may be yellow, but the way the missions are and where they're placed, I'm level 31, and there may be a lot of level 35 enemies within those level 31 enemies sprinkled about that I can tackle. So I'm like, okay, I can't really do this area, so I got to go back maybe to an area that I abandoned before, and I'm like, hey, I can do some of these level 28 and level 29 levels here, still get some decent amount of experience. Then I can come back and do this. So I am noticing that I am picking my routes and everything. Like that wasn't the case in Final Fantasy 14. Because it was way streamlined.
Just linear.
Yeah, it was
linear. You never have an issue killing anything at your level.
Exactly. One thing I do notice, even when I'm not playing with you guys, I find myself playing in groups. Like, people will just group up. Like, we meet up at the same spot. And you did say this earlier, and I thought maybe you were just like, no, basking in nostalgia. But you did say this, like, we meet up at certain points, random people, and they just send me an invite, like, hey, you're trying to do this group? Are you trying to fight this enemy that's elite? And I'm like, yeah, I am. And they just send me an invite, and then we do it, have a good time, then we go our separate ways, or we may make a friend out of it. But, like, that experience is what I like more so than, like, the game itself, if that's weird to say. Like, I like talking to random people and doing these missions, even in like the all chat, I call it all chat, but the general chat where people just talk shit and fuck around. Like, I think it's really cool when people just talking trash to each other.
There's a lot of degenerate shit happening.
Yeah, but it's fun.
Bear's chat is back, man. But you know, no, I understand what you're saying, and like, just to continue my point about the progression too. Like, we're at a point now where the game starts getting more challenging, but level 40 for every class is a huge milestone level. That's kind of the halfway point of the leveling experience. Because that's when many of the classes that change armor types get their new armor type. So you're gonna get mail. Yeah, you're gonna get mail at 40. Warriors and paladins get plate. Shamans get mail. And there's also your mount at that point that you have to take into consideration. And 40's around the point too where you need to start actually thinking about getting your gear enchanted and things like that, and really like building your character out, like min-maxing your character. You know, that's the point where that stuff really starts to make sense, and your abilities really start to kind of flesh out at 40 as well.
Yeah, because I'm actually trying to. I actually start looking at that in myself, like with my hunter, I'm doing like a intellect agility build, and I'm like, maybe I should go that route with an intellect agility build for the hunter. But then I'm like, I might need spirit for my mana regeneration, but I think I'm just gonna go with the straight intellect agility build. But like, I wasn't really thinking about that in my first playthrough in Burning Crusade / Wrath of the Lynch King. I wasn't really thinking about that type of stuff, but this one I'm like really trying to like craft my character the way I want to craft it.
Yeah, which is nice. Like, I have complete control over what I'm wearing, right? So if I decide that, man, I need a little bit more spirit, I can get an item or find an item or buy an item or whatever that gives me a little bit more spirit, but I can always change my enchants out too to kind of fit that stat mold that I want, right? So that's kind of the nice thing about the game is like, it's just, I don't know, building your character is fun, and it takes a while, it takes time, it takes investment, but there is a payoff, you know?
Yeah.
Like, when you do it, when your character gets better, you feel it, you know?
Yeah.
You feel appreciably more powerful. You feel like you can cast more spells or whatever. And for you as a hunter, I would really recommend, like, obviously, agility is your main stat, right?
Yeah.
You should have that on every piece of gear that you wear, pretty much.
Yep.
I would say leveling stamina is number 2.
Okay.
That'd be the one I'd prioritize second, and intellect is third. But not too far away from stamina. I think a lot of hunters make the mistake of not caring about intellect at all, and then they end up being in a situation where they can't use their abilities because they have no mana.
Yeah.
Right? You need a certain amount of mana as a hunter. Spirit, I wouldn't really worry about too much.
Okay.
Your natural spirit regen should be enough to really hold you over.
Okay.
You'll kind of learn. The thing is, like, hunters and rogues are really, really great solo classes because they don't really have to stop. Right.
Yeah.
You can kind of just pull and kill things on your own without issue. Like, if you run out of mana as a hunter, like, to me, I don't sit down and drink. I go pull the next mob and just auto attack it while my mana regens.
Oh, yeah,
you know, I don't drink fucking drinks. Like, that's shit's stupid. You know, my pet can tank tank whatever you're fighting, and I just bandage it when between fights. You know, it's like a 5-second channel, and you're off to the next mob. Like, you know, that's kind of how I played a hunter and soloing, and I just think that class is really good at soloing. And rogues are the same way; they don't have mana, right? They just have to keep their health up for the most part, and that's not that difficult between fights. You know, so that's why I like those two classes. Playing a priest has been fun, but soloing as a priest is, man. When you're not twinked, it's just like
it's a grind.
I feel so like slow, dude. It's a little rough, but you know, we've been doing a lot of dungeons, so that's been a fun way to gain experience. So so WoW Classic's been a good time. I don't expect us to stop playing it anytime soon, really, but I am definitely going to be slowing down with it coming up since we got Borderlands 3 coming out this week.
And I plan on buying Iceborne.
And then Daemon X Machina too.
Oh,
right?
yeah, sure.
Getting that too.
Yeah, I mean,
the games are going to keep coming, so we can't play World of Warcraft forever as our solo only game we're playing. So we're going to keep playing it, but there's other games coming up. So all right, let's jump into the news. Montrell specially requested that I put this at the top of the news. So TGS has been happening this week, and of course there was a new Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer for the Remind DLC, and I don't know, what did you think of it, man?
I mean, it looks okay. Like, it looks okay. I saw the reflect in there in the trailer, so I instantly got Kingdom Hearts 2 vibes, Kingdom Hearts, Final Remix vibes. I mean, it looks like they're going to improve the game, but I want to see more gameplay. I want to see like if they fix the animations that we were having issues with, if they fix the enemies, if they're in tune with the animations and things of that nature, how to respond to certain new moves we get, and the difficulty. I know a lot of people it was a love-hate relationship with critical mode. I saw a lot of people saying they liked it, and a lot of people said they didn't like it because the game wasn't really designed around it. Yeah. So I'm interested in seeing what they do with reminding. I did see some extended cuts and everything like that for this game. Yeah. I was thinking about one part of the game, right? So remember the one part where because you're talking about Sora or no Xeon, Xion. Roxas and Axel, right? Yeah. So I thought about that part, right? And you're like, why are they even there? But I don't know why. But you remember when Sora like fell out? Yeah. And he was fighting the tornado. So instead of him having like the cross union thing, right? So this is fucking Disney. So instead of that happening, right? He like
I don't want to remember that ever happening.
So the part where
oh my God.
Actually before that part where fucking Master Yin said it came out, and instead of doing the light thing, he like opens a whole bunch of portals. He does
the doctor. He's like Moses. He parts the Red Sea.
Yeah, instead of doing that, right? Yeah. He like does like the Doctor Strange thing from Avengers Endgame, where he like opens a whole bunch of portals and you see a whole bunch of Kingdom Hearts. You see a whole bunch of Keyblade winners come out and then start playing the Avengers theme song. Ding.
Oh my God.
So we're just looking like, wow.
Oh my God. Yeah, and all the Union Cross random NPCs come out and they have player names over them or whatever, like an MMO. Oh my God. Kill me now, please. Jesus. Well, let me go through the beginning of the trailer here real quick, because the beginning of this trailer has the that moment you're talking about with the stupid, tornado of Heartless or whatever that they like all die to. And here's what it says. The heart you have now already existed during that time.
Wait, I didn't see that part.
It had already gone back into the past. Nothing can change that fact. Like, what does that even mean? What does that mean? I mean, what is this shit?
It means the writing's bad, bro.
Dude, they're like doubling down on this. This is the first thing they show is that scene of him going back in time and fucking fighting the stupid tornado again.
They could have wrote that scene a lot better.
Oh my God, yes. There's no reason for anything to have changed. Sora doesn't do anything differently. It's just that all of a sudden some character comes out of the blue that wasn't there the first time.
Yeah. Like I guess actually, I mean I joke around a lot, right? But I think that scene with the cross union, that probably could have worked, like the Avengers scene.
Sure.
That would have worked a lot better than what we got.
I guess.
Yeah.
But dude, there has to be some. It's just the Deus Ex Machina, the Union Cross bullshit. And like Terra in the armor coming out. I know we've had plenty of friends trying to defend that shit and being like, oh yeah, he was there. You fought him in Kingdom Hearts 2, blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, you fought him in like Hollow Bastion, dude. Like, why is he in the Keyblade graveyard all of a sudden?
Yeah, so instead of all the Keyblade Union Cross people coming out, he could have should have opened the portal for all the Final Fantasy characters to come through.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
That would have been incredible.
Yeah.
Fucking credible.
And they fought the Heartless.
That would have been awesome. Yeah. No, that would have been awesome. That would have gotten a whoa from me. Like, instead, it got a what is happening on the screen right now? I want to throw up. Like
you see Cloud come through. You even see fucking, I don't know, maybe Sephiroth comes through because you beat him. So he's like, I'm on your side now.
Like, I want to take over this world.
Yeah.
Whatever.
You see all these people come through
Stupid cheesy shit. Yeah.
that you fought through in the past Kingdom Hearts games, and they just come through and help you out. But I don't know, man. Maybe that's too much good writing for somebody.
Talking about this game just makes me. Yeah, and you like you said earlier, I asked you what you thought the price was going to be. You said $39.99.
$39.99, yeah.
And I just think that's completely absurd.
I'm surprised if it'll be $29.99.
Like, there needs to be 15 hours of content to justify $39.99. And you think there'll be that much?
Bro, honestly,
I'd be surprised if there's 5 hours.
I will pay $10 right now if they redo the Frozen world, because that world is fucking atrocious.
Do you think they'll redo any of the worlds?
They didn't show any Frozen.
They didn't show any of the worlds really either.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff they've shown is from the end of the game. Yeah. At the end of the game or the moments between worlds is what they've really shown.
They need to redo that world, man, or just take it out.
Yeah,
take it out. I don't even. I would pay them to take that game out. Just take it out. Like,
oh my god.
Okay, honestly, narratively wise, does that world serve any purpose?
Not at all. Zero. You could take out half the worlds and they don't serve a narrative purpose. You're not doing anything in any of them that has any consequence on the end of the game. You're not getting more power. You're not like, Sora's learning like, the power of waking. What the fuck ever, dude.
Everyone's fucking around.
You never see the power of waking. You never really see it.
Yeah. Everyone's just like waiting for Sora to come to them.
All of a sudden he's fighting what's his name? Vanitas, and Ventus wakes up. That's the power of waking.
That should have been done in the middle of the game.
Yes, it should have. That fight should have happened way earlier.
So for me to justify a purchase or a $40 purchase, they need to restructure the game.
There's no way. You're not going to get any of this.
They need to.
You're going to get 5 hours of cutscenes. That's it. That's all you're going to get. And you're going to get some different little gameplay elements added. Maybe some changed mechanics. And that's it. I think that's all you're going to get.
They need to restructure this game.
You're going to get some new bosses, too, at the end of the game. End game bosses and stuff. You'll get some new boss fights.
Yeah.
But, dude, like we were talking about pre-release, what I would have loved them to do is start the game in the Dark World with Riku and Mickey. And you're playing as them trying to find Aqua, and that's like the whole first 5 hours of the fucking game. You don't even see Sora yet.
Yeah, or 10 hours shit.
Or 10 hours, yeah. Fuck it.
Like you're leveling Riku, and that affects the way Riku battles in the last gauntlet.
At the end of the game?
Yeah.
His level?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm telling you, dude. They could have done this so much differently, you know?
They had enough time. 7 fucking years.
I don't
or 5 years if you want to give or take.
Whatever, dude.
But you know what?
Let's talk about a good Square Enix game, or a good-looking Square Enix game. So let's move on. TGS is rolling along. Square Enix dropped a new Final Fantasy VII remake trailer, and baby,
yo,
this is the game right here.
This shit looks fucking good.
This looks like Square Enix sat down and was like,
"What the fuck?
We have to make this
good game.
The best game we've ever made." That's what this looks like. This looks fucking incredible.
Not only the graphics, but like the combat looks.
Oh yeah.
This looks like the game that Final Fantasy 15 should have been. This looks like what I've been asking for. Like this looks like the game they wanted to make 13 be. You know what I'm saying? Like
versus 13.
Yeah, like it looks really fucking good.
It's crazy, man. It's blowing my mind. Every time I see they show new footage for this game, this is quickly shot up to probably my most anticipated game.
Yeah.
Straight up.
It combines all the elements of an action JRPG game.
Yeah. Yeah, when they started making Final Fantasy games that were action games.
Yeah.
This is what I was hoping for.
Yeah, exactly.
This is eventually what I wanted the games to be.
Like that fucking robot fight. They had to cut the fight because it was so fucking long. I want that shit. Like people,
yeah, dude.
I know some people are complaining like, "Oh, this fight's gonna be an hour long." Fuck yeah, give me that shit.
Dude, that's awesome. It's like a battle of attrition. You really have to manage your resources and stuff. Dude, that sounds awesome to me. Yeah, I couldn't be more hyped for this game.
And I'm pretty sure they may have an easy mode for people who want the more cinematic.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah, but. Dude, this combat looks fucking good.
Dude, the characters look good. They started showing off some humanoid boss battles when you're fighting the Turks and stuff, and damn, did it look badass.
Hey, I mean, I just want to say it again. Cloud's getting outshadowed by everybody on the team.
Yeah.
His character, he has a non-existent character.
Well, he barely says anything in any of these trailers.
Yeah. But that's everyone's favorite Final Fantasy. No, I'm not against that.
Is the fucking, the cute little hottie or whatever that he's all enamored with.
And Tifa doesn't look bad. I don't know why people are complaining about her.
They want her boobs to jiggle. That's what they want.
She looks okay. She looks decent.
She looks great.
Yeah.
Whatever, dude. She's gonna look super badass when you actually see her fighting.
Her combat looks really dope.
Dude, yeah, she looks really cool. She looks really, really cool. This is shaping up to be a very impressive game. I think the issue is that, unfortunately, we know we're only getting a third of it.
I know. They're going to get all our money, man.
Even if it's 30 hours or 40 hours or however long it's going to end up being, I'm concerned about the length between games,
you think it's going to be another 2 or 3 years?
Dude, that's a bare minimum,
Whoa, you think it's going to be longer than that?
I mean, Square.
Yeah,
it took them fucking 10 years to make Final Fantasy 15.
That's true.
And it took them 7 to make Kingdom Hearts 3.
Damn, man.
So
crazy.
that is my biggest concern. I mean, this game's coming out much sooner than I thought it would. So maybe they're taking this project really seriously and they want to get this done quickly. I hope that's the case. But, I mean, dude, the idea that it's coming out this quickly and it looks this good, I'm blown away by it.
No, I think what happened is the same thing that happened with Final Fantasy 14. Because that game was made in, like, 2 years? After they released the initial...
14?
Yeah,
yes.
After they did the initial release for
that
it.
was an incredible turnaround.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that game is completely different from what it was before.
Yeah.
It's not even remotely the same. Like, some of the areas are the same, but that's about it. Everything else is brand new for that game, or was brand new at the time for that game.
Yeah, and I was blown away by that game. I didn't play the first initial launch of Final Fantasy 14.
I played the beta, and it was horrible.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people say it was trash.
So bad, dude. I don't know what they were going for with that.
But I feel like you said, like, they had to sit down and look at each other in their faces and, like, this is not going well. Like, we are losing to Monolith Soft.
Yeah.
We are losing to, Atlas.
Yeah.
People are saying these are the RPG kings, and we were like, I know people talk about this in, like, the video game world as, like, just regular conversation between us. But I really think these conversations do go back up to the top, and people.
Well, I'm sure they're competing.
Yeah,
right?
they know their reputations as like. Where they stand in certain genres and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure BioWare knows, like, people regard them as the Western RPG of the world, and now they're, like, low tier now. Like, no one's looking at them anymore.
Yeah, everybody's looking at CD Projekt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I feel like Square Enix is in that same rope where they released some mediocre games, and people are like, man, I don't know if I have faith in Square anymore, but now this game's coming out, and everyone's like, oh, okay. But we're still looking at it with a skeptical eye.
Well, the thing is, Square Enix, they're a company that has always had the potential to make some of the best games out there.
Yeah.
Right? Their graphical... The way they push graphics every generation is stunning, right? This game looks fucking stunning.
Yeah.
It's crazy how good this game looks. We'll see how it looks on a PS4 and Xbox One. Or, actually, is it even coming on Xbox?
Yeah, it is.
It is? Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see how it looks on the consoles. I'm sure it's going to look better. If it's on PC, it's going to look much better on PC.
Yeah.
But when you marry the looks of this game with the level of quality that the gameplay looks to have and the level of quality, I'm not necessarily saying the actual narrative, but the presentation around the narrative, the cinematics, the voice acting, and all that stuff, they're going all out with this. And if they can hit on all of that at once, I mean, they could make seriously one of the best JRPGs ever made.
Yeah.
Like, that's what Square's potential has always been. That's the level of studios they have,
Yeah, and the talent in those studios.
Exactly. Like, I've never questioned that. The problem has always been, to me, is I think their leadership has been unable to maintain their scope.
Yep.
Like, they let scope creep come in. I think they've overshot their ambition many a times and taken on more than they can chew.
Yep.
And I have a feeling that this game, as crazy good as it looks, I do think this game's probably going to be a lot smaller than people are expecting. I don't think we're going to be getting an 80-hour
No,
game.
I don't think so either. I think it's going to be 20 to 25.
30. I think 20 to 30, and it's going to be very, very, very high quality.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It's going to be, like, replayable and stuff like that. And they may
Yeah.
have, like, certain missions you can do and grind out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely not leaving the city, though. That's for sure.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the very end of it.
Yeah.
Is you leaving the city for the first time. And, yeah, so that's kind of my thought process here is, like, we're going to get I think we're going to get a very good game. It's not going to be as big as people think. But I really hope that this is a turn for Square because, dude, I've always felt like they're capable of this. They just never seem to put it together because they get lost and they get mired in development.
So I think this is going back to the conversation that we had earlier this year. Because I noticed a lot of I noticed the Japanese games the Japanese studios are doing it, not really the American side or the Western side.
Mm-hmm.
Square, Nintendo, they have games in the mobile market right now.
Yeah.
where they made a ton of money out of it. But we did see throughout that ton of money that the other console games were kind of lacking as far as quality. I feel like now they're actually starting to pull money from the tons of money they made from mobile games.
Yeah.
And they're using that to facilitate and meet their directors' dreams and ambitions that they want to make. Like, okay, now we have the time, the money, and scope to do this. You can do this because we're not pulling from investors. We're pulling from like our own money now because we just made $100 million a month from microtransactions of
Final Fantasy Brave
Exvius, and then with Nintendo's Draglinia Light or something like that. Dragalia, Lost, and Fire Emblem Heroes. And as egregious as those games are, as far as like a money standpoint,
they get me this. I'm on board.
So that's what I'm saying. Are these games justifying the means?
Well, it's a good question, I guess. Like, it's almost selling your soul to the devil.
Yeah.
To get what you want, right?
Because I don't think we would have got Fire Emblem Three Houses without the money that came from Fire Emblem Heroes. I just honestly don't think that.
It's interesting because it's been a fear. It was a fear of mine with Fire Emblem that the mobile game would influence the console game, and it really didn't for the most part.
Yeah,
there is some things in there, like some of the skills and stuff are actually taken out of the mobile game, but for the most part, that game is pretty original. Like, there's really nothing. There's nothing mobile gamey about it, really. And yeah, so I guess it's an interesting thing, right? If I mean, I'm of two minds. As much as Final Fantasy Brave Exvius, Dragalia Lost, and Fire Emblem Heroes kind of disgust me, having so much experience playing those games over a couple of years, at the same time, the market speaks, right?
Yeah.
If there is a market of people who are willing to dump money into those games, and they do so willingly, is there anything wrong with that? Not necessarily. It's just the problem is I can't honestly say that knowing, having been a part of those communities, is that these are very unhealthy communities.
They are.
These are full of people who are not in control of themselves a lot of the time. Many players are, but many players are not. And even the players that are in control of themselves, I think they subliminally don't realize that they aren't really in control of themselves. They still log in every day. They're still kind of at the beck and call of these games, right?
Yeah,
they log in and do their daily fucking tasks. They can't take their eyes off the game, right? I was one of those people. As much as I didn't spend money a lot of the time, I still logged in every day, felt obligated to do my daily quests and get all my daily shit done and all that stuff. And it was a huge time investment, right?
Yeah.
So whether you're spending money or time, there's still an addiction there, no matter what. And so that's the part of me that kind of it's hard for me to separate. That is I don't like the idea of those games because I do feel like they take advantage of people, you know?
Yeah, and I totally get that. Now with the Western side of that, I just don't feel like enough game. I feel like the games that should be doing, like, if there was a Madden version mobile, right, for Ultimate Team, which I think there probably is, or FIFA or some shit like that.
I think there is.
But if it was more fleshed out, and it was also like having a mini mobile Madden experience on your phone that you always have on your console, I feel like Madden itself wouldn't have to have. They wouldn't have to have an Ultimate Team every year. They can have a super fleshed out franchise mode or stuff like that. If it was like a version of it on the phone where it doesn't affect your main game, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
I get what you're saying. It's a difference in philosophy, though. I think the problem is that I think these Japanese developers have a lot stronger sense of their own legacy than Western developers do.
Yeah, you're right.
Western publishers, rather. I think you were right about Square. I think we were talking about this earlier. I think they know that their perception from the level of quality of their games is not as high as it used to be, and I think they know, if they're being honest with themselves, they know that their last few games have not been up to their standard, quality standard, and it's been a long time since they've really met that quality standard. And part of me thinks they sat down and were like, look, this is the biggest game we've ever made, Final Fantasy VII. This is our most popular game, period, straight up. There's no other game we have that's more popular than this, and we're remaking it, right? We need to do this correctly. Like, we need to do this right. We can't fuck this up. And if we do it right, the thing is, they're going to get rewarded. If this game is as good as it looks, and we think it's going to be, this game's going to sell 10 million copies. 15 million copies, 20 million copies probably. Like
I can say without a doubt that Final Fantasy is a household name like Call of Duty.
100%.
Even if you're a non-gamer, you know what a Final Fantasy.
Final Fantasy 15 sold like 10 million copies plus.
Yeah.
And that game's not good. So imagine one that is good.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And that's kind of what I'm getting at with them. But I think going back to your initial question about mobile games funding this is the difference that I'm thinking of, is that the Eastern developers, I think, they take that money and they invest it into their primary business, their primary products, right? The Switch games, and Square's doing it with their console offerings, right? They're not letting that part of their business kind of infect their other part of the business. The difference is with Western publishers is once they see the dollar signs on mobile, they want to put that shit in the console games.
Yeah.
And that's what happened, right? Madden turned into a mobile game. They turned it into a mobile game, like in terms of its design philosophies, and it's worked out for them. They're making millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of $1 million every year off Madden Ultimate Team. And that's the unfortunate part about it, is that I don't think they have the integrity really to take funds that they're making from mobile games and put them into quality console games, because all they care about is making more and more and more and more money.
Yeah.
Obviously, Japanese developers do as well. Everybody wants to make money, but I just think they have a difference in philosophy in the way they handle that stuff.
Yeah, you're right. I think it is a difference. It's a difference between their version of capitalism and our version of capitalism.
Yes, yeah.
Like they have I don't want to say like a stereotypical honor system, but it's like they have like you say, a legacy.
They have a sense of honor. Yeah. No, I do think the Japanese have that in general in their society, right?
Yeah.
And I think unfortunately we do not as much. You know? Our businesses are so cutthroat, and they're about money, more money, as much money as you can make. Like, and it shows in the products, right?
Yep. Definitely right about
that's
that.
the problem. Is unfortunately, I just think it can coexist. I think you can make hundreds of millions of dollars every year and make a quality product at the same time. It's just that when they're rewarded for not making a quality product in Madden every year, what's their incentive to do better? You know?
Right.
Like if they put 100% more effort into Madden, or like took a year off, like you said, what's the real incentive for them to do that? You know, they're just giving up a year's worth of Madden revenue for what? So the next year they can get a couple $100 million extra dollars than they would have. Like, it's until people start speaking with their wallets, it's not going to change for them.
Yeah, you're right.
Know? So
I think a lot is riding on this game. I'm looking forward to it.
I think for Square it is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think a lot is riding on this game.
This is big for Square.
Like, it will definitely get a lot of enthusiasts back, a lot of Square enthusiasts back. I've always been on the fence with Square. Like, I'm going to be honest. Like, I've never been a diehard. Like, everything they came out with is just so cool with me. I've always been on the fence with them. I've been on the fence with them where it's like, oh, this is cool. I like it. And then I'm like, oh my God, this is fucking cool. And this is like, oh, this is fucking complete trash. So I've always been teeter-tottering with them. But they lost a lot of hardcore fans. I think the breaking point where a lot of fans was 15. Or not the breaking point. They were looking at Square with like a skeptical eye. It was 15, but I think a lot of fans, the most decisive game was Kingdom Hearts 3. Mm-hmm. That game to me split the fan base I've never seen in a while.
It just lost me, man. And no, I mean, they put their fans, I think their fans were put on notice with Final Fantasy 13.
Oh, yeah.
That was the game, I think, that really split people.
Yeah.
And people hated that game. A lot of people hated that game. And I think it's unjustifiable, personally. I think that game's fine. I think it's a perfectly good game.
Yeah.
It's not the best Final Fantasy I played, but it's not the worst one either. And then I think 15 people... I think it... Coming off of all the Final Fantasy 13 games, I think going into 15, people had low expectations. And for some reason, 15 met or exceeded a lot of people's expectations, I guess, because people generally have a positive outlook on that game, despite what we think about it. But, and then, Kingdom Hearts 3, I think the hype was just so high for that game that there was no way they were ever going to be able to meet it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think something happened in the development cycle of that game that really hindered their ability to make the game the way they wanted to.
Yeah.
I think that thing is Disney.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because Disney's fingerprints are all over that game.
You can definitely see it in Frozen.
The worlds they chose.
Yeah.
Just that alone is extreme evidence that their hands were all over that. I mean, we've gone over this. Like, Toy Story had a new movie that came out right after this game came out. Frozen 2's coming with a new movie. They were planning on making a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, which got axed, but at the time
it was
of development, it was already in. They were working on it. Big Hero 6. I think
that is coming out.
Yeah, there's been another movie talked about with that, rumored with that. I think Tangled didn't have anything in the works. That was like the only one really that didn't have anything in the works.
I think he really wanted that. Nomura really wanted that world to be in there.
Yeah, you can tell though. That's the best. That's like the best world.
Yeah,
and they kind of let him do what he wanted with it.
Yeah,
and that's the interesting thing. And Monsters Inc.'s another one. I don't know if there's another Monsters Inc. movie.
That world was fleshed out.
But yeah, that was another one that was fairly fleshed out too. So
it's just that they wouldn't let them fight the villains in that world. Only one you got to fight was Davy Jones and Pirates of the Caribbean. Yeah, and that was a fun fight.
It was a fun fight.
Yeah. But Final Fantasy VII. I think Square knows that it's their reputation's on the line with this one, and I think they're going to bring the heat. They're bringing their guns. They're trying to get back at Monolith Soft. They're trying to get back at Atlas because Persona came out and everyone was like, "Yo, Persona's like the top tier game now.
For real, dude.
Xenoblade is the top tier game now." Like, no one's talking about Final Fantasy anymore as being the top tier game. You always had that Final Fantasy top tier game. That's not the case anymore, man. So
and I think no matter what, that's a good thing for us.
Yes,
because that means if this game comes out and kicks ass, that's gonna push Monolith Soft to kick ass. It's gonna push Atlas to kick ass, right?
Yeah.
As much as they already are, it might push them a little further to do a little more. And make their game a little bit better.
And one game we don't give them enough credit for, which is underrated, and I can't speak on it highly enough, is Nier Automata.
Yeah,
I think that game. It's under the radar, but a lot of hardcore fans are like, "Yo, this is the game that proves Square still has it in their bag."
It's weird because that game was made by Platinum, quote unquote, but I think Square was heavily involved in it.
Oh yeah, you can definitely tell.
And that's the best game they've published. I mean, I don't want to say this generation because they did also publish Mankind Divided, Deus Ex, which is right up there with Nier Automata for me. Like,
oh really?
Oh my god,
I gotta play that game,
dude. Deus Ex Mankind Divided is a fucking incredible game. It sucks that franchise is on ice right now because, dude, that game, Eidos Montreal, they can make a game, man.
Yeah.
Like they really know how to make good games. So, but Nier is a little bit higher for me. It hit a little bit harder for me than Deus Ex, but it's So Square's very capable of making great games. I just think they need to rein in their scope creep,
Yeah.
And that seems to be what they've done here. They've gotten this game. It's tight. It's lean. Like it just looks like it is what it needs to be. It's not anything more than that. We're totally looking forward to it. All right, let's move on. Next story is a little bit of a sad one. GameStop looks like GameStop is going to. They're going to be closing about 200 stores in the next few months. They're during an earnings call that happened this week. They confirmed that they lost $400 million more in this past quarter, and as a result, they're going to be closing about 200 stores.
Yeah.
In the next few months, up until about February, and there will actually be more closings after that. They said. So it seems like I don't know if this company's going to be able to hold on as much as we talked positively last time about their direction.
Yeah.
That last time we talked about them, it's starting to seem like their spiral's happening fast. $400 million again, losing that much money again is. Dude, they can't keep doing this every quarter.
They can't. Yeah.
Like, they're going to go bankrupt really quickly if that keeps happening every quarter. And I just think they're tanking, man, right now.
Maybe they have a buyer in the mix. Like, someone's.
They already tried it, though. They tried to sell themselves, and no one was buying, man.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I feel like somebody at some point is going to swoop in and buy them for really cheap because they have so many locations, dude. They're gonna, even after closing 200 stores, they're gonna have 5,500 stores worldwide.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And if you're a company like, I don't know, Amazon or something like that wants to get a footprint in the gaming market, like a bigger footprint, I mean, that's an easy way to do it.
I maybe Amazon's going to step in,
but I don't know. If it's going to happen, it would need to happen soon. And if GameStop can't turn this around more quickly,
yeah, they have to do their initial idea of turning it into like a local gaming hub like really soon.
I mean, that needs to happen. Like, I don't know if they're going to make it to next year's console launches, which is something that's going to buoy them and push them back up. But I don't know if they're going to make it there, man. If this continues to happen, like this level of hemorrhaging of money. So it's an unfortunate story. I feel bad for anybody that is in the affected stores that will probably end up losing their jobs.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. Like, the market's kind of pushing GameStop out. You right? Like we talked about digital. The eclipse of digital to retail sales, it happened recently. Like 50% of game sales are digital now, over 50%.
And I honestly don't think that would be the case if GameStop had a better foothold, a better physical footprint.
Well, it's if their perception wasn't as negative, right?
Yeah.
They're just considered a bad guy, right? People look at them like a bad guy.
Yeah.
My brother has a burning hatred for GameStop for reasons I don't know. Over the years, I'm sure he's gotten screwed over by them many times, but many gamers feel the same way.
Yeah.
They hate GameStop. I'm not even sure they know why anymore, but they hate them. They just do. And it's similar to EA, right? Like, it's just, you just hate them because they're GameStop.
I know a lot of people have a burning hatred for them because either the way they were worked, and then that word of mouth through friends, or just being in the store and seeing how they talk to other customers.
Well, it feels corporate.
Yeah. Or, you try to go in there and they're trying to sell you a whole bunch of stuff. And I understand they're just doing their jobs, but at a certain point, man, I just want to buy my game and get out.
Well, yeah, because the way the company approached their business was so corporate, right? They didn't treat it like they're gamers selling games to other gamers. They treated it like a corporate entity selling video games.
Yeah, they should have treated it like a community. Like, it should have been.
Yes, which they screwed that up a long time ago.
And honestly, it's... like you said, it's probably just a little bit too late to change my perception. I still think there's hope to turn it into like a community-centric company. Mm-hmm. But I mean, it is sad. It is a sad part of gaming that, unfortunately, is probably like a dead leg we need to cut off at this point. Unfortunately, so
yeah, I mean, it's gonna happen soon at some point. I don't. It's starting to get really unreasonable to think that they're gonna be able to turn it around. So, which is sad. I mean, I like buying my games physically, but not from them. Yeah. That's the unfortunate reality. All right, let's move on. You put something in here about NBA 2K20 that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, so I think Monday or Tuesday, there was this hashtag going about called Fix 2K. Yeah. And there are a shitload of tweets directed at 2K. Or I think the guy's name is Ronnie 2K. It's like the lead designer for 2K.
Ronnie 2K.
Yeah, this is his handle.
Yeah, his
Ronnie
handle.
2K.
Okay,
and people were just upset. Like, progression is really fucked up in the game. Like, people were getting badges when they should be getting VC points and stuff like that. They fixed that glitch, I think. Other things were happening where people can't go into practice mode to finish their goals. And if you go into practice mode, it bugs out and like lags you out into the main menu. Yeah. People can't go into my part because it lags out to the main menu.
So it sounds like the game's having performance issues.
Oh yeah, it's having a ton of performance.
Buggy and man, that's crazy.
And then people who are playing the game, right? They people who are playing the game, they like there's one video where a dude went up for a layup, he got the rebound. He fell, and then the ball transported back to the other player's hands, and he scored. And it was like the dude had like a Spider-Man like web sling shooting things on the ball. And I mean, and people have been seeing it in almost every game they play. Like it's not just a once in a lifetime thing. This is happening.
That's crazy. Isn't this game usually pretty stable?
For the most part, you may have a couple of glitches here and there.
Yeah.
And that's what people try to use to defend it. Like, they're like, man, it's a couple of things here and there that always happens every year. But the thing is, it's particularly really egregious this year. Or even, I'll do even better, right? I feel like the reason why it is so obnoxious this year, maybe these are the same level of glitches they have every year. Because I hear people say that. The thing is, though, you introduced a slot machine into your game.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, I don't want to say irrational person, but any person like, okay, you can introduce a slot machine to your game, but you can't improve the quality of your game. Those are not like intermixed, but
well, it's a fair argument because you put time into making the slot machine, right?
Yeah.
That you could have been spending fixing bugs, right?
Yeah.
Like, yes, obviously QA doesn't make the slot machine, but if QA, I'm sure QA did report many bugs. If you take the time that you were going to spend to make that slot machine mode or whatever that is and fix bugs that QA was reporting instead, I mean, you might have a better game on your hands, right?
Yep.
And I don't know. The thing is, when you start putting microtransactions in your game the way they did, and you promote it the way they did, your leeway really tanks at that point because you're losing your community's trust, right?
Yep.
When you start doing things like that. And if you're not able to deliver the experience they've had in the past with a game like this that's a yearly release, right? They're not going to give you the same rope that they gave you before.
Yeah, and that's the thing when people are actually complaining about. People are physically mad like at this game. They're even like putting the commercial, that 2K commercial, the dude getting like really hype in their videos. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, he can get hype about this shit, but I can't. I have a 99 slasher who can shoot from the 3-point line, whose 3-point shooting is 99, but I can't hit a shot. I can hit a consistent shot. People are complaining about this. Their systems are really fucked up. It's not just the glitches. It's like the actual gameplay and the systems and the engines implemented in the game are bad. Your rep that you get for the game is like really, really bare minimum now. They're like, I gotta buy more VC points. I have to buy VC points. I can't earn them anymore. Yeah. Like it's getting really egregious now. And even if you are, like I said, a 99% slasher or 99% dunker, you're missing dunks. Like the game.
How do you miss a dunk?
It can happen. People have 99% layups, and they're missing open layups, and they're like, there's no one contesting me. I'm just missing open layups, even in practice. What's going on, 2K? Why is this happening? Yeah. Like, these things are all coming to a head because they haven't improved it over the last couple of years. People keep telling me that they have. Like, I put it on Facebook, like, y'all really think this game is improving? Like, yeah, the game quality doesn't improve a lot over it. No, it hasn't, because the same shit's happening that was happening to 2013, 2014, 2015. Yeah. This game's quality has not been improving. And I've been playing 2K since 2K9. And so I know the level of the game. And I stopped playing 2K16. When 2K16 came out, that's when I stopped playing because the game I was just done with it. I'm like, I can't do it.
That was the
anymore.
First one they added microtransactions in, right?
No, it was 15 actually. 15. Okay. They really started to push that microtransaction thing, and then I started to see it with 16 where it was to the point where I couldn't really play the game like I wanted without buying VC points.
That sucks.
I couldn't buy the certain shoes I wanted for my player. I couldn't buy the certain cars, or not cars, but like outfits when I'm in my park mode without getting additional VC points or grinding 80 hours just to unlock a shirt. Like I don't want to do that. I just want to play the game like I used to play. So it's really egregious. It's been under the radar for a long time, but now with that slot machine thing, I feel like everyone's really looking at it. I think this may be like a self-inflicted wound. I think someone within the development team is like, I'm putting the slot machine in because they need to see how egregious this shit is. I just can't see.
But dude, they made a ad centered around it. I think that's a real initiative they had as a goal this year, like as a company.
But I think people are doing it. Like maybe the higher ups who really don't know games, like, yeah, this is a good idea, but developers
you think a developer pitched the idea as a self-sabotaging idea, hoping that higher ups would approve it, and they did approve it, and then they made it as horrifying as they could, as like almost like a cry for help. Is that what you think?
There's just no way in this climate
it's amazing.
That a company that is not this self-aware.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I do think it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen, is because after the last 2 years of us beating on developers who put microtransactions and loot boxes in their games. The idea that a company would make a system like that and then put that as their main form of advertising and have a YouTuber in the video pretending to be super excited.
It's a parody.
It almost feels like a parody. It is. I mean, there's something to what you're saying, man. Like it's
because I mean, people try to defend this saying you can't spend real money on this. No matter what you do, you can't spend real money on this. But I feel like it's just almost like, I don't even know what the word I'm looking for, but it's that. Like, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but it's just a cry for help. Like, we need to get this out of our game, so I'm just gonna put it in the game forefront. This is what it is, and the simple fact that the European side of the ESRB is like, nah, man, this is Peggy 3.
It was Peggy 3. Yeah, these motherfuckers, they're banning loot boxes in all these countries, and they made this Peggy 3.
So a lot of people were saying like, well, you remember Montrell, Sonic 2 had the casino level.
Wow.
Like Sonic 2 did have the casino level in the Genesis, and I do remember the casino level. But that level never, ever, ever made me want to gamble.
Dude, people pointed to Pokemon though as one because Pokemon's always had a casino.
Yeah, and
in the
actually,
game,
and Pokemon took it out.
Well, yeah, they took it out, but you want to know why?
Because the rating,
their rating was going higher because of the casino and the games.
Yeah.
Like,
and even it was a Mario game that had gambling in it.
Yeah.
And ESRB was like, no, Peggy 12. And Nintendo never put that game back, that Mario gambling game back in this games. I think it was a Mario Party game actually.
Yeah.
But they never put it back into the games because of that. And you're telling me this is Peggy 3? This is literally a slot and pachinko machine.
No, the whole thing seems like a joke.
Yes.
Like someone's playing a really big joke on all of us. But it's a real product that exists and is out there in the wild right now, and people are paying money for it. You know, it's crazy. I mean,
it's almost like, let's see how far we can go. Like, really see how far we can go.
Which is wild. And this is a funny situation because to me, if I'm EA...
Oh, I'm definitely looking at this.
I'm sitting there like, man... Did you do that 2 years after we did that? And you did it worse than we did. Straight up. Like,
the only thing is you can't spend money for it. Now, if you can spend money for it, I think this conversation would be going a lot differently. I think a lot worse. Yeah. A lot worse. But you can't spend money on it. So people are like, oh, you just got to play the game and then you can spend. But it's like, why?
Yeah. Yeah. Why would you design a basketball game around a pachinko machine? Like, yes. But, dude, to me, EA should be sitting there and they should be developing a basketball game, which they've done in the past, obviously. You know, NBA Live has been a franchise that's been on and off for the last 10 years. Yeah. And, I mean, NBA Live goes back decades, right? Yeah. I mean, they should be working on a game right now, an NBA game right now, that has no microtransactions in it that they can release next year that is way better than 2K20 or 21 or whatever. And their whole selling point will be, look, you don't want to deal with microtransactions? Come over here. Yeah. You know, and it would be hilarious coming from EA, but that's what they should be doing because, dude, they would destroy 2K if they did that. You know, they would. If they could make a quality game, obviously it all hinges on that fact, but of course. That idea.
And then make a commercial around the pachinko machine, like
yeah, yeah. You almost show you like start the commercial with an influencer, like a fake influencer, doing a pachinko machine in NBA Live, and then you have someone come in and like just do some like cartoony thing where they like push them off to the side and be like, none of that shit here. Yeah, you know, we're about basketball. You know. Something like that, man.
And I just can't believe the level of people, like, not even influencers are defending this game, but, like, a lot of people that either on my timeline or I know in person or family and friends, and I just know a lot of people defending this game, and it's mind-boggling how many people defend Madden and 2K, and they just get away with it, and I don't understand it. And, I mean, I guess it's kind of...
they're afraid that they're not going to have a basketball game. They're afraid they're not going to have a football game because these are the only games in the market. Right? Yeah. If we don't buy them and it's bad enough, the companies, they'll just stop making them. You know, that's what these companies do. They're not going to try to improve it. They're going to just go quit. They're going to quit because it's not worth the effort. You know, which is never going to happen, right? I don't think these games will ever sell little enough for them to do that. But
that's the point. It's never going to happen.
And I really think the other part of it too is that these people want to play a basketball game or a football game desperately enough that they don't have any other choice. So if you want to play those kinds of games, you have to go to these companies. You have no other choice.
I understand it and I get it.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, you just gotta let it go.
That's what I did.
Yeah.
I've let the football games go.
This isn't in the same genre, but I let Devil May Cry go. Like, I saw that franchise when it came back. You know, I was lucky. But I let plenty of franchises go, plenty of genres go where I'm just like, I don't think this game's coming back.
Dude, there's plenty of games for me to play. I don't have to play a football game.
Yeah.
As much as I love football, and I would love a football game.
I don't know any bigger football fan than you. But
yeah, dude, as much as I love it, I'm content watching the NFL. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's fine. You know, I've gotten addicted to Madden a couple times over the past few years. You know, I was playing a franchise mode with a friend where we were doing like hyper-realistic simulation level Madden where it was like 15-minute quarters and it was fucking crazy. You know, it was awesome though.
Yeah.
You know, we got the game to the point. There's a whole community dedicated to this online, by the way.
Really?
Every year, Madden has realism sliders that people come out with that you know, change the game enough to make it realistic, where you can play with 15-minute quarters and the score lines aren't completely absurd, where it's not like 100 to fucking 90 or something like that. Like, it's realistic NFL scores.
Yeah.
And the game plays like a real NFL game kind of does, where there's an ebb and flow and the drives are really long and they're hard. It's difficult to gain yardage. Like, there's a whole community dedicated to that in Madden, but all that Madden Ultimate Team shit and everything like that, and the fact that they don't give a shit about franchise mode has pushed me away from even trying to play the game, because they don't care about the way I want to play. They don't want to improve the way I want to play. You know, they don't care about me. I'm not the customer they're looking for. You know,
we'll get to that later. I like what you said about me. Like, they don't play about me, and I think that's an interesting phrase that you use.
Yeah.
So
we'll get to that. I guess we're gonna have a topic of the show this week, a brief one.
Yeah, just a brief one.
We'll touch on what I just said. So let's move on. I'm gonna skip the Resident Evil game. Sorry, Capcom.
That's cool.
And let's get into release date announcements. So I talked about Brigandine a few weeks ago, that there was a little bit of a website leak that Gamatsu found.
Yeah.
This was real. This was announced last week. There's a new Brigandine game called Brigandine: The Legend of Runercia. It's coming on Switch, and it's coming spring 2020.
Oh, that's pretty soon.
God damn it. It actually doesn't look bad.
I'm looking at it right now.
I was like blown away. Dude, they literally mention in the introduction blog post on the website, like, all the mechanics from the original game. They're all in this game. Like, they're like making a legitimate sequel to this game. I don't understand where this is coming from. And the company making it is, hold on, let me, Happinet Games. Who is that? Why does this game even look good? I don't understand. What world am I living in?
I'm telling you, bro. I think like games like Fire Emblem and other old school games that are coming back, I think people really want to play more turn-based games, or not even turn-based, just intuitive games. I think people are tired of games hand-holding them and telling them what to do. Now the game's like, hey, just play me, man. See how you like me.
But, dude, this game is weird. It's weird. It's a complicated game. It's going to have a very similar structure to the original game. But, I mean, it doesn't look that bad. I mean, it doesn't look amazing or anything like that, but it looks good enough for me to play. You know, I'm a fan of this franchise. I really like Brigandine. And honestly, what I'm hoping more than anything is that this results in the original game, because the original game came out in 98, and in 2000 they released a kind of like a final mix version of the game, the way Kingdom Hearts would, that fixed a shitload of bugs, like changed balance and like really like added new content and stuff like that, and like fixed a lot of the issues with the game. We never got it in the United States. It was never translated over here. So I'm kind of hoping that we get that version of the game, like a re-release of it for like $15 or $20 before this game comes out. That would be really cool. It's just a weird announcement. It kind of came out of nowhere. I'm extremely surprised about it, but I mean, I'm gonna play it. I'll play it. I'll let you guys know how it is, because I am a fucking nerd for these games. There's just something about turn-based strategy games that I just can't get enough of.
Well, I can't wait till it comes out. I'm gonna try it.
But dude, yeah, it's like six nations all fighting a war against each other, just like the first game.
Yeah.
You know, you got to pick one of them, and you got to conquer the continent. That's the goal. It's so cool, though. You're fighting like 5 other countries at the same time.
That is pretty cool.
It's really interesting. Like everybody has like different borders and everything like that, and you're like you have a war, like a multi-front war happening on all over the place. It's really interesting. So, all right, let's move on. Another announcement, release date announcement for Star Ocean First Departure R, which is a remake of the original game.
Say that one more time.
Remake of the original game. It's coming on December 5th. Because the original game came out on Super NES, I believe, and then there was a remaster, which is First Departure, on the PSP, and this is a remake of that PSP remake. So it's coming on Switch. I think it's also coming on PS4. I don't know if it's coming to Vita. That would be really...
Oh, it's like a 2.5D.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. It's like Tails, almost.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, no, yeah, dude, Star Ocean is really cool, too. You never played Star Ocean?
I just played the terrible version. I played Star Ocean on PS2. I played that version of it.
That one's good?
That one was really good. Then I played the one on PS4, and that was really bad.
Last Hope?
Yeah.
Oh, see, dude, I get really torn about that game because I played it on 360, and the story in that game is absolutely horrific.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the 360 game. I played the 360 game.
It's absolutely horrific, but the gameplay,
the gameplay
combat
is really good.
is insanely good in that game.
Yeah.
It's amazingly good. Like, it's So yeah, it kind of sucks. It's like a tale of two games, but I doubt I'm gonna have time to check this out, but this is on my radar at some point if I ever find time to like catch up on some games. But Star Ocean is really cool. Check it out. All right. Next one, another TGS trailer. Neo 2 got a release window for early 2020. Let's add another fucking game to the list.
Yeah.
For early 2020. When are we going to have time to play all these games, dude?
We're not.
Let's talk about this trailer, though, because, dude, you watched it. I watched it. This game looks so dope.
It looks like they did what they wanted to do with this game now.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell, like, the main character's not even, like, from the last game, he's not in
There's,
this.
like, a female character you're playing as. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, this game looks like it's abandoning... I don't want to say abandoning all the nuances of the old game, because I only played, like, maybe 10 hours of the old game.
Yeah.
But this game looks like they're like, yo, we're about to do what the fuck we want to do now. Yeah. Like...
Well, you can transform into a yokai.
Yeah.
You have like a yokai form you can transform into. The enemy designs are wild.
Yes.
They're so cool.
Yeah.
Jesus, man. Like, they're so interesting. I am super excited about this game.
Really, honestly, that's what really sold me on this game. Like, the enemy design. And then the way your character moves. I know your character's really fast and fluid in the early games, but he's like, your characters look super fast and fluid in this game. Mm-hmm. But the enemy design looks so fucking good. Like Dark Souls level, but like
it's awesome, man.
But on like a more mythic, cartoony
more
level.
Japanese,
yeah,
too.
More
it's got that like Japanese feel to it. And for those of you who don't know, the original Neo came out in 2017, February 2017. It was made by Team Ninja, published by Koei Tecmo. And it was one of the best games of that year, which is saying a lot because that is the year Horizon came out. That's the year that Zelda came out. That's the year that Nier Automata came out. That's the year that Persona 4 came out. Persona 5, came out. There was a lot of heavy hitters coming out that year, and this was one of the best games of that year, in my opinion. And I expect nothing but at least that level of quality for this game. It probably is looking like it might even be better, which is crazy to say. But it's one of my favorite games of this generation, Neo. And it's a Dark Souls style game, but much faster paced.
Yeah.
It's made by the Ninja Gaiden team. It's not as fast as Ninja Gaiden, but it's, much, much faster than Dark Souls.
Yeah.
And I like it for that reason because the game, I just feel like everything's in your hands as a player, right?
Yeah.
You have all the tools you need to survive.
Yep.
You just need the skill to do it, to execute. So I'm really looking forward to this game. It's unfortunate that it's early 2020 because, dude, I don't
think it's gonna be around the same release window as the other games. I think it's gonna be like maybe like May or maybe the last month of the first quarter.
The original though was February.
Yeah, I think it's gonna come out in March or April.
But even March is Final Fantasy VII month.
Oh shit.
April is Cyberpunk.
Oh fuck, you're right.
Yeah, where are we gonna find the time to play this shit, dude?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, we're dead. We're dead.
Yeah.
We're dead. We're both dead. It's over. There's just a lot of stuff coming. It's exciting though.
Yeah,
like, we're ending this generation on a high note.
A lot of stuff happened this generation. A lot of conversations were happening in this generation, and we're getting some quality games during those conversations that I think are changing. That are reinforcing the conversations that we're having. So I'm really looking forward to how the next generation is going to tackle everything. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to new game releases. So this week is pretty packed. Gears, I think, officially launched this week. Yep. Gears 5. We've got Borderlands 3 coming out on Friday, which is, day release of this podcast. So when you hear this, that will be available, which I'm super excited about. Daemon X Machina also on Friday coming out. Yep. NHL 20, another sports game for those of you NHL fans out there. That's a big game. So yeah, this is a big week. There aren't a lot of games, but the ones that are coming are big ones.
Yep.
Big AAA games. And I mean, what are your plans? What are you going to be playing, I guess, out of this crop?
Honestly, man, I'm going to buy, obviously, Daemon X Machina. Yeah. I'm actually going to give that Greedfall a chance.
Dude, yeah, I want to try that too. Oh my god, I know. I've been hearing about that game and it looks really cool.
That game looks like the game that should have been made by BioWare. Like, I'll actually watch gameplay footage of it, and I watched like a 45-minute gameplay, and I can see why people are like, it has its flaws. It definitely has its flaws.
Yeah.
Because it's made by like a middleware company.
Yeah.
But I can tell the team who made it was like, man, we miss BioWare. Like, this game is really good. The combat system is really cool. And, yeah, man, it's just, it gives me like a BioWare feel, man. And I think I'm going to really buy this. I think I'm going to buy this game over Borderlands 3.
Man, you're crazy, dude.
I am, man. I am going to buy Borderlands 3, but it's just, there's so many fucking games to play,
dude.
man.
You got to pick and choose your battles, right? Yeah. If you're not feeling Borderlands 3, don't force it right now. You'll have, you're going to have.
I want to wait until like the DLC stuff comes out and buy it.
I understand. I do agree with you that is not a bad choice. I just think the way I am with this game is the way I'm going to be with this game is probably the way I was with Borderlands 2. Is that I played it on initial launch before any of the DLC came out, and I beat it on initial launch, and then I let it sit for a long time and came back to it after all the DLC came out and then played through all the DLC.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's kind of what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm going to play through the game once, maybe twice if I'm really addicted to it, and then kind of sit it down for a bit, Okay. I'm not going to get too crazy into it. Like, I'm not going to get super obsessed with it. I'm going to try not to. And then I'm going to come back to it later when I have more time, maybe early next gen when there aren't that many games to play, So that's kind of my thought process with it right now. But I do want to play it in the immediate future. You know, I really am looking forward to this game. I do want to play Greedfall as well, and Daemon X Machina, man, I really want to play that game too. Like, it looks really cool.
I think probably you should buy it on Black Friday, but I don't know if this game's going to be on sale.
It might. Because it's not a Nintendo game, right? It's maybe published by them, but it's made by a indie developer, isn't it?
Yeah, the same people. Actually, some people who left From Software who used to make the Armored Core games. So the character designer and then the character designer and the game designer, they left. The lead character and the game designer. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I may get Greedfall on Black Friday because I'm pretty sure that's going to be on sale.
Yeah, there's a lot of games. Because my plan right now is really to just buy 1 or 2 games a month, and then on Black Friday, I'm going to hopefully be able to get most of the rest on sale. Yeah. And that's kind of my thought right now. That's kind of my thought process at the moment, but we'll see how it goes. It depends on how addicted to WoW I continue to be.
Yeah, I kind of want to give WoW a backseat. I may play it for a couple more weeks, maybe about 2 more weeks, and then I'm probably gonna put it on ice for right now. I mean,
you say that, and if you hit 60, dude, the game opens up so much.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of.
Dude, it just gets even better when you hit level 60. That's the stupid part about it. So I don't know. It's easy. It's easy enough for me to fall down a rabbit hole with it, but there's other stuff I want to play, and there's so many good games coming out, man. It's tough. Well, anything else on the list you think you want to try?
No, that's it.
You don't want to play Chop?
What?
It's a game called Chop coming out on Friday. I have no idea what it is.
No, I'm not playing Chop.
All right, let's move on. All right, so we're going to do a brief topic of the show, right? We were talking about something earlier, I think, before the podcast. It kind of piqued our interest a little bit, and I think I touched on it briefly with my one comment about Madden. Is I guess you've probably had these discussions more than I have, right?
Yeah.
But is that we talk about and we bang the drum a lot and we kind of badger on about how we want quality games, right? We get on developers when they're not making the best game they can make.
Come off
right?
as really cynical.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and I guess it probably makes it sound like we don't like video games very much because all we do is talk negatively about them, which is not really true. But
yeah.
But does our want? I guess the question that you brought up, or kind of came of the conversation we were having, is does wanting quality games make us entitled? You know, is that?
See, this is the part of the podcast I wish we had a third person to kind of offset us.
For sure. Because unfortunately we are of a very similar mind on this topic, I think. But I'll try to play devil's advocate a little bit.
I try to do it myself. I mean, I've really been thinking about it. Our friend Dennison, who has a podcast called the Catch Up Podcast, you guys should,
which we were on.
Yeah, we were on. I'll plug it in here.
I think it was episode somewhere around the 20 range is when he was on.
Yeah,
we were talking about Jedi Fallen Order for the first time.
He brought up an interesting point that a lot of people don't want complicated games. They just want to jump in and jump out.
Yeah,
you know, they want easier games or not easier games, but a more casual experience. And I agree with that.
They don't want to have to think.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, which is perfectly fair.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And just like looking at like how my girlfriend plays her cell phone games, like she plays this Harry Potter game that she fucking loves.
Yeah,
and she jumps in it. She does what she need to do. It's like the Harry Potter version of Pokemon Go.
Yeah, that Pokemon Go Harry Potter game.
She loves it. Like she jumps in, does what she needs to do, and then she jumps out. Really? You know what I'm saying? So, and it's not complicated. It can get complicated because she was telling me all the stuff that she was doing. I'm like, I'm making potions so I can do this, and then I can do this, and then not. So it got complicated for me because I'm not playing the game.
Man, they got her, man.
Yeah, they got her though. She won't spend no money though.
Sounds like a gotcha, man, to me. Like I got to do this thing so I can get this fucking character.
Bro, when we're out, I just see her on her phone swiping. I'm like, she's like, it's a tower near here. I gotta go to the tower and fight the werewolf or whatever. And I'm like, oh my god. But I mean, it's cool. I like that she's playing that game. Yeah. But it's like that game has a certain level of complexity to it. Yeah. I may not like it, but she loves it.
Yeah.
So it made me start thinking over the past couple of weeks, especially that conversation with Dennison. And I was just in the group chat about NBA 2K. It's just like, it's me. People, I do troll a lot. And I'm like, I did troll, and I was like,
you love incendiary commentary, man. You are an instigator and a half, my friend. Like,
yeah. So I mean, but under that, there's a level of me caring, right? Like I care about what I'm trolling about. So when I troll like NBA 2K, like I trolled it this week. I'm like, man, y'all still buying this stupid game or whatever? It's been going down in quality. Or I was like, are y'all finally ready to admit that 2K and Madden are falling down in quality over the last couple of years? And people still like, nah, like, I still love the game. But I thought that question made me think of myself, right? Like, maybe I'm too entitled maybe I'm entitled because I have been called entitled. Like, I've been called entitled to where I'm like, no, bro, you're just entitled. You think the game should be playing like this, but it shouldn't be playing. It's not playing the way you want it to play, so therefore you're not satisfied with the game.
Yeah, this is where it gets complicated because there's an objectivity to it and there's a subjectivity to it, right? Like, there's an objectivity in the sense of a game with technical issues, I think we can all agree.
Yes.
Can be improved,
like,
right?
Like Anthem, right?
Yeah,
that's a prime example.
Anthem or... I have a game that I'm going to mention. I guess here's a good example, right, of a game that I personally loved on initial playthrough, and I love it more, now after playing it. It was Last Remnant. Came out on Xbox 360. That game had a lot of hype behind it. It was, quote, supposed to replace Final Fantasy for Square Enix, and it obviously never did. But the reason it never did was because it came out, and the game had a ton of charm. Like, it was a really fun game, and it really re-released last December. I recommend checking it out on PS4, Xbox, PC, wherever you can get it, right?
Because it's on better technology now.
It's a really good game. They optimized it. Yeah. I'm going to get to that part. Right. This game was really cool. It had a great concept. It was fun to play, but it had technical issues up the wazoo on the Xbox 360. Like, it did not run well. It had frame drops. It locked up. It crashed all the time. Like, particularly later in the game when battles got larger, the systems could not handle the game. Yeah. And they didn't optimize it. They rushed it out the door. They didn't delay it. And it unfortunately, it was a game I loved, and it was like, I couldn't recommend it to people, though, because it was a broken mess, right? And I wanted that to be fixed. So what happened, though, they ended up fixing it. They made a port. They ported the game to PC, and the game was flawless on PC. Yeah, it looked gorgeous.
Because I played it on PC.
It played perfectly. Yeah. It had no issues whatsoever. They added some content. Like, it was a great port to the game, and it finished the game. It was what the game was supposed to be on launch. And it came out 6 or 8 months later, after the console release, and it ignited a love affair for me with that game. Like, I played that game obsessively after it came out on PC, and it's insane. I've put over 250 hours on it on Steam. Whoa. Like, if you look at my Steam profile, and I really love that game. But so this is the objective part, right? Is it entitled of me to be mad at Square for fucking up the initial release of that game and destroying a potential franchise because they decided to rush a game out and not put the effort in to fix the technical issues?
So I can't look at this from an objective standpoint because I barely played it. I played it on PC, but I didn't get deep into it. I'm going to play like 5 hours into it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say, I don't know if it's entitlement, but you definitely have a reasoning to criticize them.
Yeah.
So, I guess the second part of my question, which should have been this, was, where does entitlement come in, and where does criticism start?
Yeah. Well,
or interchangeable. When does criticism start and entitlement start to begin?
Well, so the reason I brought up Last Remnant is that is my objective example of me being angry and criticizing a company, right?
Yeah.
Because you can't play Last Remnant on Xbox 360 and tell me that is an acceptable level of quality for a game. I'm sorry. The game is broken. It doesn't work.
And this is coming from somebody who actually loves the game.
Yes, and I liked the game on Xbox 360. I thought it was a really great game on Xbox 360, but it just was destroyed by technical issues.
Yeah.
The reason I bring that up, though, my subjective example of criticism and wanting a game to be better is Kingdom Hearts 3, right? Our criticism of that game is largely subjective. There's very few objective parts of that game that you can criticize. There were frame rate drops in that game, very often, actually. But it was not enough to really detract from the game too much for me. Over time, it stopped really being super noticeable. It didn't really hurt my experience in the game. It's just something to note. It was interesting that a game that had been in development for that long had frame rate issues. But a lot of our criticism of that game is based around the story and the gameplay, which are elements of the game that everyone experiences differently,
but
right?
It's a really subjective
we all have a different viewpoint of that game's combat and story based on our own experiences, right? I have a certain level of experience with JRPGs that maybe not everybody that played Kingdom Hearts has. That doesn't necessarily make me more of an authority on the topic from what they should do, but it does make me more of an authority of the topic of what I think good JRPGs should be for me. Right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that gets confused, is that when I say I want Kingdom Hearts 3 to be better, I'm not necessarily saying that it's an objective fact that it's bad, because it's not an objective fact. But I think we get lost in our opinions sometimes, where we use the idea of an opinion as a defense to kind of mask the reality of something, right?
But what is that reality?
Well, because
It's a philosophical.
It's a very philosophical thing, right? Because I think Kingdom Hearts 2 and many of the other Kingdom Hearts games are far superior to Kingdom Hearts 3, and that's really the only comparison that can be fairly made.
Yeah,
is between the games within the franchise, right?
But it's so hard to say that.
But even that's subjective.
Yeah,
right?
Because honestly, I can say. I played Kingdom Hearts 2, and I didn't think anything was wrong with the game until I played Final Mix.
See, I'm the opposite. I fucking hated Kingdom Hearts 2. I thought Kingdom Hearts 2 was a piece of trash on initial release. The game's story was terrible.
I mean, the story was terrible. I'm talking about from a combat perspective, right? Okay, so with Kingdom Hearts, which is probably the subjective part of me, I always gave the story a leeway because I'm like, it's fucking Kingdom Hearts.
It's Disney.
Yeah, I always gave it.
That's my problem. Is I think a lot of people do what you're talking about.
Okay.
Is why can't the game have a good story? What is it about the game that it can't have a good story? Like it, or it doesn't need to have a good story? Like why? The game's large portion of the game is you watching cutscenes of a story. What, like, do you just skip all of them? Like,
no, I don't. So this is where me and you divide, right? Because you come from a JRPG. I have JRPG experience, but I come from a super action background.
Yes.
I look at Kingdom Hearts in the same light I may put. I don't look at Kingdom Hearts 1 like that, but I look at Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 in the same light I would put a Devil May Cry game.
Devil May Cry, yeah.
Bayonetta, Metal Gear Revengeance,
God of War, maybe.
God of War.
Yeah.
So I mean, I played all these games. I played Heavenly Sword. Mm-hmm. I played what's the other game that was made by I played the DMC, Devil May Cry. I played all these games.
You really like that genre.
Yeah, I really like that genre.
Right. I've played many of those as well, but not nearly to the extent you have.
Yeah, I've explored it. I put maybe 100 hours into each one or whatever. Yeah. So when I looked at Kingdom Hearts, I can look past the story. Kingdom Hearts 3, I can totally look past the story. Yeah. Even though it was very nonsensical. And this is coming from somebody who's like, Devil May Cry 3, Devil May Cry has the same story almost every game.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally the same thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can look past the story. But the combat, I was very critical of the combat.
Yeah.
And people couldn't understand why I was very critical of the combat. Because I'm like, man, the frames and everything like that, people are like, what the fuck are you talking about, show? Like, the enemies weren't designed around the way Sora was moving. And, like, you can tell when a game's like that. Like, Final Mix, when I played Kingdom Hearts 2, Final Mix was that. For me, I'm like, oh, I definitely see the difference now in Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts Final Mix 2. But I was very critical of that game, and people don't say I'm entitled when I say Kingdom Hearts 3 is a bad game, but I'm entitled when I say Final Fantasy 15 is a bad game.
Yeah, that's the problem with the argument. It's a bad faith argument because you're not approaching every game with an equal from an equal playing field, right?
Yeah.
The games that you like, oh well, Montrell's entitled for not liking that game, but you didn't like Kingdom Hearts 3. Oh, so he's right. You know? It's that's my kind of main issue with the argument is that it's not. I don't think it's entitlement to be critical of a game. I'm just a critical person in general. I'm critical of myself more than anything.
Yeah.
I live in my own head. I have tons of things I can improve upon, and I actively try to do that, but it never ends. That critique. So I'm like that with everything, right? I just want quality. I want quality for everyone, not just me. You know?
That's what I put. I said I want. The reason why I'm fighting these games so hard, the reason why I'm so hard on these games, is because I want it to be better for everyone. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying, when I say that, people might think, well, you think your level of quality is the same? That will be the justification for everyone being, satisfied. And I'm like, no, that's not the point I'm trying to make. If I want a good Madden game, if I want a good franchise mode, or I'll say 2K because I know 2K more than Madden. If I want a good my player experience, I feel like this is an RPG game at its core. It's probably one of the best RPG games I've ever played. And if we're just being completely honest, maybe 2K14, 2K15 was probably the best RPG game I've ever played because you really get inside your character's story. You flesh out that character. And when you play, you're playing that character. You feel like you are that character. And to me, the RPG elements are completely outdone by the microtransactions, by the game's glitches and things of that nature.
Well, they undermine the progression.
Exactly.
With the microtransactions.
Exactly.
Right?
And I feel like that style or that criticism or the criticism that they're not getting is really holding the game back, in my opinion. Yeah. There has to be some. I'm not even a game designer, and I can see the flaws. There has to be a game designer in that studio. Like, man, we can do so much better.
I'm sure somebody pointed it out, but they were probably shouted down or told that this is how we're making the game, right?
But that's not entitlement for me wanting the game to be better.
Well,
Angry Joe screaming and ranting for 30 minutes about Madden using the same banner that was in Madden.
That's not entitlement.
That's not entitlement. He wants the game to genuinely be better.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about Madden, I guess, real quick here. Because, Madden's a great example of this, right? Where franchise mode hasn't appreciably changed in 8 or 9 years. It's been the same fucking thing forever. And it's not entitlement to expect a portion of the game that has a yearly release to have something new every year. That's not entitlement. Why are they making a new version of the game if they're not going to change anything?
I can counter that, right? I can say, well, it is entitlement because it's not improving the portion of the game that you want to improve.
Sure, but that means if they can't improve everything, every part of the game every year, that means that a year is not enough time to make the game. They need more time. But they don't do that because money is what drives them. And knowing that, it's not entitled of me to call that out. Okay? I just want to get that straight for a second.
Yeah.
So guess what that does, right? Okay, you'll say to me, okay, well, if you feel that way, then why play the game? Well, guess what? I don't. That's it.
So then people will say, why are you criticizing a game you don't play?
Because I want to play it. It's as simple as that. I want a football game, but they're the only one on the market because they bought the exclusivity. I don't have a choice. There is no choice. They are the only choice, and they are not adequate for me personally. So they've created a market where there's no competition. Is it entitled of me to ask for either competition to be allowed or for them to make the game up to the standard I want? I mean, I guess it is to a degree, but at the same time, if they want my money, they have to meet my standard of a sale, That's not entitled. That's being a consumer and having value, like having a value that you put on a game.
I think, honestly, yeah. I mean, because I'm really trying to think about it. But money talks. And the one game I can just point back to that has a clear example of both these things is WoW.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, the arc of WoW is really funny with that, right?
Yeah.
Because it started out at the beginning. WoW Classic is a hilarious example of what we're talking about, right? Where it's subjective to believe that WoW Classic is a better game than retail WoW right now.
Yeah.
Right? But plenty of people are playing it despite
all the quality of life changes
that have happened in retail WoW, and Blizzard insisting that retail WoW is a better game and has all this great stuff in it that everybody will enjoy. But the thing is, they're such different games, they're not really comparable anymore. They have the same name, and they're made by the same company, and they look very similar, but they're extremely different games. And to me, as a player who originally played World of Warcraft and vanilla and loved it, was addicted to it. I love Burning Crusade as well, and Wrath I still liked, and it started to wane at that point. But that's the point, though, right? Is it started to wane. My interest in the game started to wane because Blizzard started to change the game away from me, right? Away from my tastes and many other players' tastes. This is true of a lot of people, right? Clearly, with the interest that Classic has gotten. And that's fine. They made that choice over time, and
I feel like the company is entitled to make a change.
They can do whatever they want with the game. It's their IP. But Blizzard recognized at a certain point that there's still a market for that old World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
And maybe they should fill that gap because there's no one there to fill that gap. So they did it, and here we are. The game's got queues, and it still has queues. Many of the servers still have queues. It's not the game is still very active right now. 2 weeks after launch, 2.5 weeks after launch, right?
Yeah.
And I don't.
And these servers are huge too.
Yeah, I don't necessarily think anybody's going anywhere. I think there's plenty of people that are going to keep playing this game, and it's not entitled. I don't think it's entitled of people to ask a company to make something for them that they've already made, in fact, too, with Blizzard, right? Like, I don't think it was entitled to many gamers to be like, look, we want a classic version of World of Warcraft. I don't consider that entitlement.
There's literally video proof of someone asking them, hey, can we get a classic version? And they told them, like, you don't want that.
Yeah, that's, I mean,
but
that's just arrogance on their part, right?
Yeah, but it's, I don't know. People defend the arrogance. It's just weird because it's like when certain gamers bring up certain things about certain video games. Mm-hmm. I'll take for example right now. Someone's criticizing Pokemon. Mm-hmm. I'm not really big into Pokemon community. I play it here and there, but I'm not super big into it.
Yeah.
But I have played almost every Pokemon game. But you're not big into it. Like there are people dedicated to this shit. But anyway, right now he pointed out. He pointed out that the Pokemon camp just has all the same animations as the old game. He did a compare and contrast.
I saw that,
and I saw people like supporting what he's saying. Like, yo, you're right. Like this should be higher quality. They should have been doing this and that. And I saw people saying, don't buy the games. They always reuse animations. A lot of games do that. A lot of games reuse animations at the same time. These are the developers' time and everything like that. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, you guys really don't see what he's saying. Like, to me, I see what he's saying, but then it's like, people were saying, like, you're entitled, bro. Like, you don't buy the game. Don't buy the game, bro. If you don't like it, don't buy it. And he's like, I want the game to be better. Like,
yeah, that's the ultimate point. It's been 20 years. They're reusing animations from 10 years ago or however long ago. I mean, should it be that way? Like, is that the way it should be? Like, shouldn't...
That's a subjective question, though. Honestly. To us, it makes sense.
I don't know. I don't know if it's a subjective question.
If their fans like it,
if a game if they should strive to make a higher quality game than they're making. Reusing animations is a shortcut. That's not. You're not making your game better by using animations from a prior game. That's not making your game better. I'm sorry. That to me, that's objective. That is an objective fact. If you're gonna copy paste something from a prior game, and Madden does this every year with their shit. I mean, dude, there was literally videos of Madden 20, where you could look on the outer banner
and you saw Madden 19,
and it says Madden 19. I mean, if that's not proof that they're copy pasting shit, I don't know what the fuck is, right? Like, that's not, to me, that's not improving your game. Like, yes, sure, making a new world and all that stuff, but that's not improving the game. That's a bare minimum for your game to be viable, is making a new world, a new setting, a new Pokemon, or new activities for people to do. That's a bare minimum for the game to even be a viable product.
So people are saying, because his main argument was, all right, they're reusing animations, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing all this reuse and rehash stuff. Mm-hmm. Some of the battle animations are not in the game anymore and everything like that nature.
Yeah.
I guess his main argument was, where he was trying to lead it to, was, why can't we get a national dex?
Yeah.
And at first, I was on the same level as those people, right? I'm like, man, that's like 1,000 Pokemon, bro. What are you talking about? Like, there's no way they can do animations for that. But if you're going to reuse animations, then kind of has a point.
Yeah.
Like,
they only had to make new ones for the new Pokemon.
Yeah. And maybe clean up a little bit when they ported it over. But, I don't know. Is that entitlement on his part for saying he wanted a national dex? Because, like I said, this is a subject. I think we can both look at Pokemon with objectivity.
Yes.
Is that, from the information that we've gathered, Pokemon is a clear example. Is it subjective or objective? Is it entitled or is it criticism?
I think it depends on the person too. Like that's the other issue. I think for a lot of people, it might be entitlement because they have a certain mindset about it, right? They're set in their ways. They're not necessarily open to seeing the developer side of things. They just think, like, why can't I get all my Pokemon?
Yeah,
I want all my Pokemon. Like, that person might be entitled. But the thing is, we understand the other side of the coin, right? We understand Game Freak's side of things, where they have a certain time frame they're trying to get this game out in. They have a certain number of resources and the team size they have, and they have all the stuff they want to do with this game, they don't have necessarily unlimited time to put every Pokemon in. Even if they're copy-pasting animations, that still takes effort, right?
Yep, exactly.
You have to make sure that they work, that they're smooth, that they're not buggy, that they don't mess up, that they don't clip into things, right? You need to make sure all of that is there, and that takes time.
Yeah, it does.
That's not a simple process necessarily, even though they're not making new animations. But I think, from my perspective, based on everything that's happened with this game and everything that's been revealed about this game and the way Nintendo and Game Freak have kind of reacted and talked about this, I just think they are not focused on Pokemon. They're not focused on this game. This is not their biggest priority, and it's starting to seem really clear to me that this seems like a B tier game for them. Like they just don't. And maybe Pokemon's been this way for a while, and none of us realized it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's been this way for a long-ass time, dude.
There was a chart that came up, right? And Pokemon has outsold Disney as far as, like, product. I'm not even kidding.
That's fucking crazy.
Has outsold Disney as far as product and, products-wise. Like, their merchandise is fucking through the roof.
Yeah.
Like, Disney's not even outselling them. And I just... You have that much money from the Pokemon franchise, so that's where my objectivity comes into place. Where I'm like, I think he has a point. Maybe he is. Maybe you're right. He has been entitled. But let's look at the facts here, right? Yeah. These guys are making billions of dollars off Pokemon.
Yep. Oh yeah.
There is no reason they should be reusing animations. Like they should have
none.
3 teams working on this.
We shouldn't have been on the 3DS this whole time.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Why are we still on the 3DS? Like, why were we still in the 3DS with the last games? Like, it doesn't make, for the amount of money they make off these games and all of the merchandising and the movies and the television shows and the fucking everything, dude. It doesn't make sense that they can't muster a game of a higher caliber. And yes, again, we keep coming back to subjective versus objective. That is subjective on my part, but... I mean, I think it's kind of hard to deny that they could make a better game than they're making, that they've made.
Because I'm gonna be honest, right? The game that looks the better out of the two, Pokemon Masters, hands down, looks way better than what we've been seeing from Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yeah, and I mean, I haven't played it, so I don't have an opinion on that game personally. But isn't that the mobile game?
Yeah,
that just came out like a few months ago. Yeah, and. So I just don't like, and honestly, every trailer I see of Pokemon Sword and Shield, the battles just like the Pokemon don't even do anything. they literally just like they just like shimmy, and then a giant wave of water comes out of their body somehow. Like I don't like it's.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I mean, okay, so people say like, well, that's been the same in all Pokemon games, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, true.
Should it have been that way, though?
Yeah, I can understand from a technological standpoint. Man, the GBA didn't have that much going for it, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't expecting the world from that shit.
Even the DS.
Even being the DS. And I can say from a certain extent to the 3DS. I think it should start changing the 3DS, but I can give it leeway. I can, whatever. I give it leeway. I feel like the jump to the Switch should have been... Like, we should have been blown away. There should be no reason me and you or the rest of the Pokemon world are having this conversation right now. We should be like, oh, man. I'm waiting for this shit.
Isn't that exactly the point, though? The fact that we're all debating this and having this conversation, isn't that proof that they're not meeting the bar they need to meet to just not have this discussion at all? We're all sitting here talking about quality of this game. I mean, isn't that kind of indicative of something? That maybe there is a quality issue if this many people are out there talking about how little effort they look like they're putting in. Whether that's true or not and justified or not, I mean, we didn't talk this way about Pokemon X and Y.
Yeah, we did.
We didn't talk this way about even White and Black. Or even Sun and Moon.
Yeah, we did.
But here we are. We're on the Switch now and the games look like 3DS games. I mean, that's just the reality of it. It just looks like a 3DS game that has sharper models.
I feel like it was made for a 3DS and ported last
Probably.
Minute.
Maybe it was. I don't know.
But see, I don't know. I guess we can close, but it's just, it's that entitlement for me saying that. Like, of course, I need to know. I need to understand the game developer's point of view. Some of them have family.
That's the thing. We do.
Yeah, a lot of gamers do though. I feel like there's almost there are some people who are like just stuck in their world and they just don't understand what's going on in the game development world.
They'll yell about anything, right?
Exactly, yeah. But I feel like now gamers are a lot more informed than they were 10 years ago.
Yes.
We understand the development cycle. We understand the development process.
It's a lot more visible.
Yeah, it's super visible. Yeah. And a lot of developers are a lot more open with their lives now.
Yeah.
And like I think like one example was Super Smash Brothers, right? Everyone's telling Sakurai, even the fans of Super Smash Brothers, like, bro, maybe you need to take a break. He's like, no, I'm gonna keep going.
But the man is, he's crazy.
The streets need me. Yeah. Like that's what he said, right? But
you can see the effort that goes into that game, right? As much as it didn't like do much for us, I can't deny that game is the best Smash Brothers game that's ever been out.
It's way better than Melee.
It's
like,
crazy.
I can't deny that.
Dude, they knocked it so far out of the park. It's ridiculous. Yeah. Like it is a perfect Smash Brothers game to the point where I'm not even sure they need to make another one.
They don't.
Like literally, like they could just release DLC characters endlessly, and I think it would be fine. You know,
Yeah, that's not a sense of entitlement. That's us giving congratulations to that developer because we see the effort.
But what makes that difference, right, between the way we're talking about Smash Bros. And the way we're talking about Pokemon?
Well,
like, what's the difference there, I guess?
We don't see... I guess it's the quality.
I don't see that. Yeah, dude, I guess that's the point, right? And yeah, people are going to point out that they reuse animations in Smash, right? They do.
Yeah.
But they also adjust them, and they also adjust mechanics with Smash, and... they actually listen to people's feedback, which Pokemon hasn't done, right? People wanted certain characters in Smash Bros. They wanted Ice Climbers. They were sad that Ice Climbers weren't in the last game. There was a bunch of characters that weren't in the last one that people were upset about and wished were in the game. And guess what? Nintendo heard you guys and heard us and was like, look, you want this character, you want that character, you want this character? Guess what? Have all the characters. Yeah. You can have everybody, and we're going to add more, too. And they added a ton. It wasn't a small amount. They didn't add 5. They added, like, 15 or 20. Like, it was a lot. And, yes, they make clones and all this stuff. But the thing is, Smash Brothers meets a quality bar that's hard to deny. You know, it's like, it just does. And I think the thing is with Pokemon is it just, like...
Without criticism, right?
Yeah.
We wouldn't have got Final Fantasy 14 Reborn.
I agree.
A Realm Reborn.
Right. If we just accepted the original game.
Exactly. Right? And to me, like Final Fantasy 14 and Smash Brothers are the greatest examples of like criticized games that led to better products.
Yeah.
Because even Sakurai himself wasn't satisfied with Super Smash Bros. For you.
Well, I remember Brawl. Brawl's an even better example. Yeah. Brawl was that's the worst Smash Brothers game by far.
Yeah.
And there's many reasons for it, mechanical, content-wise, and whatnot. But they heard that criticism and then they acted on it, right? They didn't want the game to be Melee again, but they understood that people didn't want it to be Brawl.
Exactly,
right?
Yeah.
So they kind of made a happy medium ground that made everyone happy, right?
And I think it's paid off in Final Fantasy 14. If people didn't criticize that game, it wouldn't have turned out the way it is now.
It wouldn't be live anymore.
It wouldn't be. And it's actually a great MMO. I suggest some people check it out.
It's become one of the best ones to ever come out.
Yeah. And honestly, we didn't even got WoW Classic without that criticism
and talking to Blizzard and telling them. That's why I get upset when people call people entitled, right? Because if everybody thinks you're entitled, are you gonna bring your opinion up? If you think your opinion's entitled, like if I thought that asking Blizzard for WoW Classic was entitled, would I have asked them for it? Probably not. You know. And guess what that would mean? We wouldn't get WoW Classic. Like, if we don't ask for things, we're not going to get them. If we don't criticize games, they're not going to change, right? That's the reason why Madden gets away with the shit they get away with all the time, and we get so frustrated with them is because we call them out and nothing changes. People keep buying these games. They keep defending these games, and I just don't think it's entitlement to expect a higher quality product in certain ways. A game... you can copy-paste things to save on development costs. That's fine.
Yeah.
There's nothing necessarily wrong with that. But as long as that helps you make the game better in other areas, which I just don't think is happening with certain games like Pokemon, Madden,
and 2K.
NBA 2K is another one. And I can't honestly sit here and tell you that I think that Pokemon Sword and Shield is going to be a better game than Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which are games that came out 10 years ago.
I think we're still paying for the sins of Mass Effect.
Yeah.
So
I know.
sins of Mass Effect, I feel like that was
the fallout of Mass Effect 3 is just...
Yeah, that was a huge shift in gaming culture.
It was.
In my opinion. People may not think that, but I think that was a silver lining for game.
That was a tentpole moment.
Yeah. And I will admit, to the fullest extent, I was entitled with that game.
I think... Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just admit that because the endings I got were not the endings I wanted. And I can say that fully. That's a subjective thing, and I may have been wrong about that. It is BioWare's story. It's the way my friend had to explain that to me, and it took me years to process that. But that is a bad example of entitlement versus criticism.
Well, okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate on this one because I disagree somewhat. That BioWare promised certain things. They said certain things that it wouldn't be ABC, and it was ABC. And they didn't... Mass Effect's really complicated. I want to talk about it more in depth at some point, but to briefly discuss my feelings about it, the games got less time to be made with every game, right? The first game had the most time, the second game had less time, and the third game had even less time than the second game.
Yeah.
And it showed in the quality of the narrative,
yep.
Right? They didn't have time to flesh out the missions. They didn't have time to flesh out the side quests. They didn't have time to flesh out the dialogue. They didn't have time to flesh out all of the narrative beats. Yes, the game is still good. Mass Effect 3 is still a good game.
Oh, yeah, it is.
It's not a bad game. I think that's the problem, is that we overreact when things aren't the way we want them to be.
Yeah.
And I was probably guilty of this at the time as well. The game's not trash. The game's fine. Mass Effect 3 is a fine game.
Yeah.
It's just...
It's not to the quality of 2 and 1.
It isn't. And the narrative clearly isn't either. It doesn't give a satisfying... It didn't at the time give a satisfying conclusion to Shepard's story. And that is subjective. You can have a different opinion on that front, right? It could be satisfying for you.
Yeah.
It could be. But it didn't hit home for me, and that doesn't mean though this is where the entitlement comes in. And This is why I think what happened with that was gamer entitlement, and obviously that was a huge controversial hot button topic. There were videos made about gamers being entitled about this.
Oh yeah, the 3
demanding that BioWare change the ending. That was the entitlement part.
Right
that
there.
was the entitlement part.
I will fully admit that because I said that. I said they should change the ending.
Yes, we're asking them to change their art.
Yes.
Not necessarily the game per se. Like we're not telling them to change gameplay mechanics. That's fine. That's criticism. That's fine. It's like watching a movie and being like, the ending should be this way. You should remake the movie with this ending because that ending was bad. That's entitlement, right?
Yeah.
There's kind of different. That's different to me, and that's why that moment was so big, because BioWare caved, and I don't think they should have, and that game should have just stood as it was with the ending they originally made. And if that hurts them in the long term, they have to reap what they sow from that, right?
Yeah.
As a company, and it did hurt them in the long term. Honestly, it did. Like, people don't look at them the same way as they did back then. You know, they're not the same company.
Yeah.
And it hurt their reputation. And that's kind of the nature of the games business, right? Is you make a product, it might not meet people's expectations, a large portion of your fan base's expectations, and that hurts your future sales. But Mass Effect's a really complicated franchise on that front. Talking about that discussion, I just
feel like when it comes to video games, there isn't a sense of entitlement. There's a sense of entitlement when you criticize them on any front.
There is.
But let's take another example. It's a different media. I know we got a couple minutes here, but Game of Thrones, right?
Yeah.
That ending, everyone can agree that ending was atrocious. Everyone's like, yo,
people are subjective though, right? Isn't it subjective to say that Game of Thrones season 8 was terrible? That's subjective. That's an opinion.
I agree
right?
with you. I
so
totally,
where do we find that middle ground? I guess
I think because 90% of the population who watched Game of Thrones is like, this.
But that doesn't change the fact that it's subjective for that 90%.
It doesn't. But we never hear people saying. Well, maybe we do. I did hear some people saying viewers are entitled. They're entitled because they want the ending changed, or they think this should have happened or this should have happened when it was their story.
No, there was that petition or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the entitlement, though. That's the stupid part about it, is that it's unfortunate with art. This is kind of an unfortunate thing. Is this isn't like a product. Like, this isn't like a toaster oven you can buy, where the toaster oven's a piece of shit, and you just go buy a different toaster oven, right? Unfortunately, games, movies, television shows, they just don't work like that, right? There is no other Mass Effect 3 that you can go buy. Yeah. There's no game that is Mass Effect 3 that is like a different IP that is Mass Effect 3.
Yeah.
You can't, that doesn't exist. So that's where this gets really complicated, is that.
So we can stay on the same Mass Effect thing, right?
Yeah.
Are we entitled for saying that Andromeda's bad?
No.
What makes that game bad compared to Mass Effect 3? Because the story was atrocious, but the story is a part of the art.
Yeah.
The story was atrocious to me, but that is a subjective part. I guess the gameplay elements, you can say, the game was broken.
The difference is we can criticize the story all we want. And I criticize story all the time. I criticize story in Kingdom Hearts 3, and they're going to remedy some of the story issues in Kingdom Hearts 3 with the Remind DLC, right? But it's not me telling them they need to do this. They are making the choice. The developer's making the choice to make those changes because they recognize the issues as well.
Yeah.
Right? They by making the Remind DLC, they're admitting that there are issues with Kingdom Hearts 3's story that need to be rectified, that need to be filled in, right? So that's them taking that step and making the choice to do that. They're not necessarily getting bludgeoned over the head that they have to fix the story in Kingdom Hearts 3. That's the difference, right? They're making the choice. It's not gamers pressuring them into making the choice, right?
Yeah.
That's the difference. With Mass Effect 3, it was gamers pressuring BioWare.
And I think a lot of gamers themselves, I think Kingdom Hearts 3 and Mass Effect 3 are prime examples, right?
Yeah.
Like, if Kingdom Hearts 3 came out during the same time Mass Effect 3 came out, they probably would have had the same downfall. They probably would have been pressured to change the ending. But I feel like a lot of those gamers like myself, we matured since then, and we understand criticism versus entitlement. And I knew that was entitlement for Mass Effect 3. So when Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, I was like, man, this story's trash. But I accepted it for what it was. I'm like, I'm just not gonna.
I don't like the game.
I don't like the game. I'm gonna tell you why I don't like the game.
That's it.
And if you like the game, bro, you like the game. Like, I can't tell them to change it. But what I think they should do. Oh, if you ask me, then this is what I think they should do. Blah blah blah. This is right here. This is all right. This right here. And hey, take the criticisms with a grain of salt, bro. But have a good day. And I think that's what they did.
Yeah.
But I think people still have Mass Effect stuck in their mind. Now, I'm not saying everyone knew about Mass Effect, but I think a lot of people still have the blowback from that because the culture changed all around the game industry. From criticism, like, you couldn't criticize a game after that game came out. I remember that. I remember you criticize any type of game.
You're entitled, yeah.
You were entitled. And it was all because of that Mass Effect thing. And that happened for years, and it's still seeing the.
And it's unfortunate because it's a bad faith argument, right?
Yeah.
That entitlement wasn't a result of real, honest criticism. It was a result of a flash mob getting angry, not getting the thing they wanted in the way they wanted it, and attacking a company for it, and demanding something. And they acquiesced to that demand. And I think because that's the difference, is like us sitting here talking about Kingdom Hearts 3 and criticizing it. I mean, dude, we were passionate in that episode. We tore the game to shreds.
Yeah.
I still really dislike the game.
But I think because we loved it so much.
Yes. I have a certain quality bar that I think I want the franchise to meet. And unfortunately, they couldn't even achieve the level they've achieved in the past. That's why I was so upset about the game. They couldn't hit Birth by Sleep. They couldn't hit Kingdom Hearts 2, which they've already done. They couldn't even make a game as good as those. You know? And that's what was frustrating about it for me. And so criticism is not entitlement. Criticizing a game is not entitlement. It's just not. You know, and yes, us getting upset about Madden and NBA 2K and yelling about how we want them to change this and that, change that and change this and change that. I mean, it's just more passionate criticism. Like, ultimately, I don't want people to get nickeled and dimed because they want to play a football game. You know, I don't want people to get nickeled and dimed because they want to play a basketball game. You know, I don't want. Yes, there's people who will defend and be like, "Look, oh yeah, you just have to put more time into the game." Well, guess what? 5 years ago, you didn't have to do that. You know, the game was just the game. Yeah, there was no put more time into it because you can pay money to do it quickly. There was none of that shit. You know, that's. This is why it gets frustrating because I think people, when people defend microtransactions, they do it from a place that's it's not an honest argument, you know? Yeah. You're not taking it into account. When a game like let's talk about Shadow of War real quick, right? When you make a game like that and it's a single player game that has progression, it has leveling, it has all this stuff in it. And then most of the game is fine. You can play it normally without using the microtransactions, and then you kind of lock off the final 10% of the game behind this huge grind wall that's way easier if you pay money. I mean, it's kind of obvious that they designed that portion of the game around the idea that you'd pay money to skip the grind, right? They're kind of nudging you in that direction, right?
But game companies got to make money too, bro. You're entitled.
Man, that's a different discussion, dude. Yes, game companies have to make money, but at the same time, they can do it in an honest way. Like we were talking about with Square earlier, with Final Fantasy, taking the money from the mobile games and putting it in development of their console games. It's a win-win. You don't have to be greedy motherfuckers that nickel and dime every portion of Final Fantasy VII Remake, right? The game, like I said, if they do that right and it's as good as we think it's going to be, the game is going to sell 20 million copies. That's a huge success in video games. Like, absolutely ginormous success. Yeah. You know? And that's because they're putting effort, and it's clear. They're really trying to make this game as good as it can be.
Yeah, and I think another game like that is Grand Theft Auto 5. Yeah. We don't really particularly play it, but it's a quality game. Yeah. And Grand Theft Auto Online has microtransactions. I think they're egregious too, but
yeah, it's devolved over the years.
Yeah, but no one never talks about it because the core game was a quality game.
And it came out first.
It
was the first thing that people played. It wasn't something that was added 5 years after the game's release. Yeah. Right? It was up front, so that it's not as egregious to me that Grand Theft Auto Online is this microtransaction machine, because there's a quality game behind all of that. At the end of the day,
I don't have to touch those.
You don't have to touch that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can play Grand Theft Auto 5, enjoy the story mode, and do everything in the sandbox I want to do without grinding anything.
Yeah, like Battlefront 2. We all remember that. You can't honestly defend that. I really don't believe you can honestly defend that, because that game's progression was literally tied to microtransactions. Yes, you could earn them in-game by grinding, but it was fucking impossible. You would have had to play the game for years to be able to unlock everything. And yes, you don't have to unlock everything to enjoy the game, but even to unlock certain things, like a few things here and there, still was going to take you weeks, you know, of grinding, just playing the game.
This is a very interesting argument.
It is. It's an interesting discussion. Yeah. I get it. You really people get really passionate about a specific franchise. They really love a specific franchise. I just think we owe it to ourselves, and we owe it to the games and the game makers to be honest with them about our feedback. If you feel a certain way about a game, there's no reason for you to hide it behind your fandom, you know? Yeah. You don't have to represent the fandom. You don't have to lie to yourself about your feelings about a game because you love that franchise and you want another game. Like, to me, if my criticism of Kingdom Hearts 3 destroyed Kingdom Hearts and we never got another Kingdom Hearts game, I'm fine with that, because that means that they know that what they did is not acceptable, right?
Yeah, I was fine with it.
And that's fine with me.
Yeah.
There will be other games, you know?
Because people... and I'll just let it go after that. But, like, I remember when DMC came out, and people were very critical of that game. Yeah. And one of my friends was like, man, that's entitlement, bro. Like, it's not the game they wanted, so they don't want the game. But the game development behind the game, even though the gameplay elements were really good for a Western action game, I guess that game had a level of entitlement to it, but it also had a level of criticism that needed because it wasn't what the fans wanted. Mm-hmm. The game was good, but it really wasn't what the fans wanted at all.
Dude, it almost killed that franchise, right?
Yeah, that's why Devil May Cry went on ice for a while.
Yeah, for a while. It's like 6 years between that game and 5, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's about 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, because that came out in 2013.
Yeah, I think it was 2013.
Yeah, man.
Then they re-released it. Yeah, in 2015 they re-released it. Yeah, so I mean, with the improvements that the fans suggested, I may add, but I don't know. I do remember that game kept coming out too, and I was on the fence of like, I'm gonna still try it, but I see what people are saying. Like, this game is not the Devil May Cry that people wanted, and my friend's like, man, this looks really cool, man. Like, he's a Devil May Cry fan too from the start. He put me on Devil May Cry. He's just like, man, it looks really cool. Gamers just entitled. And I'm like, I don't think they're entitled, man. I played the other Devil May Cries, and this is nothing like those.
The last thing I'm going to say is we all play games, right? Just ask yourself this question. Is there a game, how many games you play that are perfect 10s? In your mind, right, that they're perfect, nothing about it could be fixed, nothing about it could be improved. How many games are like that? For me, there's a few. There's a good handful actually over the course of my life. I'd probably say 25 to 50 probably if I really think about it.
Think about it, probably like 1 or 2.
But even those games, if I think about that, like out of those 25 to 50, I'm sure there's things to improve on many of them. Yeah. Right? Like Xenoblade Chronicles is a good example, right? It's one of my favorite games ever, period. I think that game is a 10. But they're making a definitive edition. It's going to be better. Like, it's just going to be better because it's going to look better. As much as I think that game is a 10, aesthetically it looks like trash. Yeah. And they can improve upon that. And I'm sure there's some mechanical things they can change. They can add more content that will make the game better. And somehow they're going to make a 10 better, right? So that's kind of my whole point here, is that even if you think a game is perfect, there's probably still ways that a company could make it better. And that is the core of our criticism, is that we want those improvements to our games. That's it. You know, that's it for me. That's like that's the main thing, is that's why I criticize, because I want to point out how a game can improve so that it does improve. Yeah. You know, not to take the piss out of a game, not to make anyone feel bad, not to hurt anyone's feelings. That's not what it's about. I want better quality games for everyone.
I mean, I troll a lot, but yeah.
I do too. I absolutely do too. There's some games I don't give a shit about, and you know, I take the piss out of. I don't really care about a lot of different genres and franchises and whatnot. But dude, there are plenty of people who enjoy those games. Yeah. And I hope they're criticizing those games, you know, the way I criticize Kingdom Hearts 3 or the way we criticize whatever game it is. Yeah, yeah. You know, like Zelda's one that I've re-experienced recently, and I had a lot more fun with than I did the first time. I had a lot heavier criticism for it the first time I played it. I'm playing it again. I'm having a lot more fun with it, but there's still criticism. Yeah. A lot of my original criticism still stands. I'm just playing the game differently in a way that makes me enjoy it more. Yeah. But that doesn't change the fact the game has things it can be better at, you know? Yeah. The dungeons could be better.
Yeah, I get it.
The game story could be better, you know? But that's just being honest about it, though. Like, coming at me and saying, "Oh, you're stupid. Breath of the Wild's perfect." Like, are you really taking an honest look at the game then? I don't think so.
I think people look at the effort. You can put I don't know who told me this phrase. You can put a lot of effort into a shit house. A house made out of shit, but still a shit house made out of shit. Yeah. I don't know who told me that. And I think sometimes people look at the effort that these developers put into these games. Yeah. I take Final Fantasy 15. This is my last thought. Final Fantasy 15 is a great example. The developers put a lot of effort into that game, but it still turned out trash. Yeah. I'm sorry, but bro, it's bad. It's a bad game. Yeah. But people look at that effort and like, man, look at all this stuff they did for it. Look at it.
Well, we put it on a pedestal. We put the effort level that developers have put into a game on a pedestal because of all these stories we hear about of them getting overworked and bad working conditions and all that stuff.
Like Phantom Pain is one. I think that game's like a 60 out of 100. It's a 6 out of 10.
Yeah.
But people, if you talk to other people, they're like, man, no, it's like a 9 or 8. It's 8 or 9 because Kojima had to go through all this. And I'm like, bro, I'm with you. What they did to Kojima's fucked up, but still a 60, bro.
You still have to criticize the game.
Yeah, exactly.
That has nothing to do with the game's quality level, right? Like, yeah, it's kind of, you're conflating things at that point. And like, I get what you're saying, and I totally agree with you. Like, it's. I think we get a little bit too far in our hearts sometimes with this stuff that like these developers are killing themselves, and I understand. I get it.
It goes both ways.
I get it.
You know?
I get it. Right. Yeah. You've worked on something for 5 years, and you've been killing yourself, and this whole studio of 300 people is like really killing themselves to make this game, and then all of a sudden it comes out, and here I am, jackass number 1, saying this game's a fucking 5. This game's trash. I get it. I get that that's probably not the best thing to hear, but if I don't say that, are you gonna make your next game? Are you gonna like go back and take a look at what you did and what you could maybe do better? As much as you put a lot of effort into it.
Only people who will really look down at themselves and criticize themselves would do that.
Yeah.
But you got a company like EA, they won't do that.
Yeah.
So.
Which they don't. So, all right. We were supposed to do a little topic of the show. It ended up being an hour long. We're not allowed to do topic of the show anymore.
All right, yeah, that's
Jesus Christ. If you like this episode, it's a bit longer than it's been in a while. Please like the episode, review the episode, and subscribe to the show wherever you are listening to it. We'd appreciate that. And share it with your friends so we can grow the audience. If you'd like to talk to us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap4the Hokage for Montrell. That is the number 4, not the word. I am at ThunderNet01. The show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to ask us any questions, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email at theplayerstake01@gmail.com. Next week, I don't know what we're going to talk about. Borderlands 3 maybe? Yeah. Some more WoW Classic? Maybe some David Ex Machina?
I should have, I should have that, and I should have Iceborne, so...
Iceborne, I might get that maybe. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that to myself, but we'll have some stuff to talk about, so... We hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we will see you on the next one. All right. Bye, guys.